they got the getting started message.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. It looks like we should be live. Yes, we are live. Hello, everybody. Good morning on this beautiful Sunday if you're where I am. Very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you very much. I'm Ombre de Mundo.
And we're here doing some Zelda stuff, as usual, when you see the both of us together. And we are currently watching our good friend, TheMissingLink, participating in a Link to the Past randomizer race against Nephisstos. I don't know who Nephisstos is, personally, but I'm sure he's a formidable foe.
Yes. Now, we both know universe where both Humos and I, well, we met over there and we've done a lot of stuff for Zelda universe. The Missing Link is still there. This particular speedrunning contest has nothing to do with Zelda universe. It's just something that he does for whatever occasion this is. I don't know. But hey, you like Link to the Past randomizing?
I do. I love them. I first started doing them a few years back just for the heck of it because I've played Link to the Past just a lot, so many times, over and over again. And, you know, you could do the same game over and over again and be great at it and just have no real surprises. Or you can do a randomizer and have that game really just become something different. And that's what I love about these, is you never know exactly what's going to happen. And we'll see. So there's going to be some chests that are going to be pretty much the same every time. Some that'll be much more random. It depends on whether it's in a dungeon or out of a dungeon. It also depends on exactly what format this is. This looks like a standard randomizer. Do you happen to know which randomizer type they're doing?
I have no idea. Also, I played A Link to the Past 1.5 times.
Nice. So you know exactly what's going on here then. So I'd like to first point out... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, probably, just explain exactly what is random in this game, because obviously there's some things that aren't random in the sense that you start in your house, and I assume the map is the same.
Yes, so this, like I said, this looks like a pretty normal randomizer. This looks like just the basic one that you would do just the first time you go to start a Link to the Past randomizer, meaning that any item that you can find in a chest or a set location will be randomized throughout the world. Whereas items within dungeons, such as keys and maps and all that, those will be randomized within that dungeon. Everything else will be just about the same. You'll start off in Link's house, you'll go in and you'll get the same dungeons, you'll go to the same places. All that stuff is the same. There are randomizers that do mix up that stuff too. Like, you'll enter one dungeon and not be at that dungeon, but that's not this one. This one is just a basic vanilla randomizer where you just kind of get stuff. Now you notice that some enemies will also drop items. Those items that they drop, if they're keys, they are going to continue to be keys. So that's not randomized in this case. There are randomizers that do randomize keys and drops like that, and those can get insane. Hence why one of them is even called Key Sanity.
Drop like 50 rupees or whatever.
Yeah. So right now, so to talk about what's happening right now, TML started off by going to Hyrule Castle. He picked up an item from his uncle. He also looks like it looks like he chose to go with the one that gives you sword outright. There are randomizers that will randomize the sword placement as well. So you may be starting the first portion of the game completely without a sword, which is it's challenging, and it's personally my preferred way to play. I like playing it without the sword up front because it just makes you get a little bit creative early on. And you'll see on the right here, we have a list of all the different items in the game. And now, he does not need to get every single item in order to clear the game. What he needs to get are all 7 crystals. And if he has all 7 crystals, that means he can enter Ganon's Tower and continue to beat the game from there. There's a few other little items that will be necessary to be able to get to that point. And that's just to be able to enter the dungeons and be able to actually deal damage to certain bosses. So he'll be picking up some of those. Now, I do find this interesting. He's going straight into the Hyrule Castle Underground. This is something I'm scared to do, so I'm interested to see how he's doing it. Because you'll notice one thing he doesn't have right now is he doesn't have a Wait, he does have a lantern. Oh, he's playing... This is a different one than even I'm used to. So he doesn't have lantern, but he gets light. What randomizer is this? Normally speaking...
It might be a friendlier randomizer, because one thing about this particular tournament that he's playing is that this is a beginner's tournament.
I see. Okay, cool. So fun fact, I just kind of jumped in here. Umbraid Mundo knows more about this.
Yeah. So
what TML is doing here.
Yeah, so it's a beginner's tournament, and the reason that you might be able to hear slight talking in the original stream is because it's not just TML playing. He also has a professional, I don't know professional, but an experienced, seasoned mentor.
Being Dazed Cloud, as I see here.
Yeah, so the mentor is essentially guiding him and kind of letting him know, hey, what are the best strategies to get the best amount of strategies, which routes to take, how to beat certain enemies and bosses, in order to get as fast of a time as possible. Because remember, we're watching TML stream because it's the only one we really care about, but he is competing against another person.
Yes. Now, you'll notice that TML was just able to blow up that wall. You're not normally able to do that in A Link to the Past. You have to wait until you find bombs, but he managed to get bombs early here, so he was able to get in there. Nothing too crazy. He found a heart container, which is nice, but generally speaking, randomizers, we're not too worried about getting enough hearts. It's helpful. Absolutely helpful, but not what we need to be able to progress the game. So we now took Zelda out into the sanctuary. We got 20 rupees out of that chest, so nothing crazy there. He hasn't found anything.
Yeah. Isn't this where Yuga comes in?
Yes, this is exactly where Yuga comes in. You're exactly right. So here we go. So he's out in the world now. He's gonna probably head over to Kakariko Village right now to pick up a bunch of chests. There's a good, healthy amount of chests over there. There's right when you get out into the light world, there's several things that are very helpful to find. So we're gonna start off with the chest guarded by the thief here in the Lost Woods, and he's also gonna check out Mushroom as well to see what is in that spot. And again, Mushroom isn't in a chest, but it is a fixed location item, and therefore it is also randomized. And right here we have 50 rupees. Again, not great. It's you'll see that we have 4 digits for rupees on this. That's not normal for Link to the Past. That was something made for Randomizer, because we can get just thousands upon thousands of rupees easily in this mode at a quick amount of time. So, oh, check that out! Look what we found already in the Lost Woods, no less. That's a Master Sword right there. So,
so basically, that means he. Whoa, hold on. What do you do with the Master Sword in A Link to the Past?
So Master Sword, it's got a few effects, but the biggest one that is relevant right now is this will allow him to enter Hyrule Castle Tower, and it will allow him to defeat Aghanim. Defeating Aghanim is a way to get into the Dark World, of course. However, he's missing the Moon Pearl at the moment, so that's not going to be a great strategy to head to the Dark World right away, especially without Mir, where he can't even go back to the Light World. Now, he won't be stuck. If he does get to the Dark World without Moon Pearl and without Mir, then he would be able to just save and quit in order to head over to it. So that's not a major problem. Alright, so here we have the chest puzzle, the classic. Hey, Fire Rod, that's not bad. That means you can take on level 3 in the Dark World. It also means that he can kill 1/2 of Trine X. And he's got Power Glove. That opens up a lot. Obviously, you can lift rocks now, so that gets him into the Tower of Hera. That gets him into a few other treasure chests scattered across the Light World. So there's a lot of good things there. Fire Rod's also going to allow him to beat 1/2 of Trine X, the ice half of Trine X. So that's also very important. You need both the Fire Rod and Ice Rod there, and I think I actually might have said that. But it also gets him into level 5, where you need to be able to melt ice. Okay. Oh, did he almost leave this behind? Alright, 20 rupees. He could have left that behind. That would have been okay.
Yeah. Do you need rupees for anything like significant when you're doing this kind of run?
Yes, there are a couple things where rupees do come in handy. The first one's going to be the bottle seller down here in Kakariko Village. He will give an item, and generally speaking, the randomizer, you'll spend 100 rupees and you'll get 1 back. It's how the luck often runs out there. In addition, you need 500 rupees to be able to trade with the Zora King. And, oh, check it out, he's already at a level 3 sword. All right.
That's going to be convenient for especially all the early enemies that might have been tough normally.
Oh, yeah, Light World's... Oh, Hookshot. Okay, wow. Nice. Hookshot opens up a lot. That's going to get him access to a lot of Death Mountain. That's going to get him access to a good portion of the Dark World. So that's really helpful to have this early on. He's getting a lot of helpful items early on, hopefully. And he's got the magic cake. Holy crap. What is this luck? Holy crap. This is going really well for him. I've never gotten anything good from the bottle seller. Not ever.
How gambling?
So that's good. That's a good one to get. That opens up another item in the Dark World. It also acts as an alternative way to get into Ganon's or the Hyrule Castle Tower, because you can just become invisible and go right through the barrier that you would normally break with the Master Sword. Yeah. All right. So he doesn't have Pegasus shoes, so he can't catch up with that person. Not that he would need to. And let's see what we get in the bottle chest. We get a piece of heart. So without having an actual bottle right now, TML will not be able to get an item from the bug catching kid, so he's going to skip that for the moment. There's still a few more things he can do in Kakariko, but he's going that way. Oh, where are you going, TML? I'm interested. I should note that whoever his mentor here, Days Cloud was his name, was that right? Is almost certainly better than I am at this game. So if he's telling him to go up, I'm going to say that he's probably going up for a good reason.
Yes, but we are free to criticize it anyway.
Absolutely. So he is taking a trip to Death Mountain right now. Not a bad place at all to go. He's taking... Or no, he's not. What's going on here?
All right, let's see what genius strat this is.
Yeah. Oh, he's doing a check. He's doing an item check. All right, so he just wants to see what's up here. It's bombs. So now he knows when he gets is it pendants? I think you need pendants to be able to get into this, because that tree will become evil when you go to the Dark World. It might just be Aghanim. I can never remember for certain. But that tree will become gross and dead, and you can dash into it to get an item. But now he knows he doesn't need to worry about it because it's just bombs. So he's just doing an item check.
All right.
And again, since normally speaking... Oh, this is interesting.
Oh, he doesn't have a lantern.
So in Hyrule Castle, he's able to get through without, or he wasn't able to get through without. He was able to get through with that lantern, but here he's not. Okay. Wonder if it's normally like that and I'm just stupid. I didn't feel like it. I don't know. Again, this is definitely not the one I normally play, since he at least was able to get the sword right away. So I don't know what other settings they may have chosen. Like you said, this is a beginner one. But this is not a path I normally go down, and here's the fun fact: that is not required either. That logic right there. The way the randomizer for Link to the Past is set up is awesome. It's very, very well set up. They've done a great job with it, where they make sure that if you have to do anything unreasonable, that it's not going to be required. So without having Lantern, it will not require you to climb up to Death Mountain through the dark, because it doesn't want you just bumping around. Now, if you've memorized the patterns in the dark, that's just all the more helpful to you. That's great. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But it is not a requirement. Alright, so we're up here. There's a few chests we can get in Death Mountain on the west side here. So we're probably going to pick up a few of those now. There's a piece of heart up there. We don't need that. So now they're just going to leave right away. Okay, cool.
Yeah, actually.
Alright, so we're going to start...
So that sounded like it was a mistake.
Well, since he's starting a mountain cave, maybe so.
Much time lost.
Yeah, alright, so he's going to go back up there? Yeah. Now, fun fact, this cave that we're going to see up there on the top is... Well, he's not. Okay, so he's heading over to east because he's got hookshot right now. But I haven't played a proper Link to the Past randomizer in a while, since they created the Link to the Past Super Metroid randomizer, which I just cannot get enough of. That's literally my favorite Super Nintendo game now. I love it. I love that game so much. And it's much like this. Yeah, watch out for squirrels. All right. So there's a significant number of chests on West Death Mountain that he'll be able to pick up here. Unfortunately, it doesn't have mirror, which is also helpful, because not only does mirror warp you back to the light world, it's the main purpose. Nothing major there. Mirror also lets you just get rid of blocks, which is awesome. So you push a block and the mirror just immediately vaporizes it when you mash mirror while pushing a block. Now, it's only in the version 1 Japanese, which is the one we use for all randomizers. Any randomizer you get is going to be based on version 1 Japanese. So here we go. This is a fantastic room. We never know what we're going to get in here. Okay, so we got a Quake Medallion right there. That will possibly be useful for getting into one of the dungeons. The medallions you need to get into Misery Mire and Turtle Rock are also randomized, so it may not be Quake like normal for Turtle Rock, but we will just find out
All right.
Okay, so we'll check Spiral.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure you get an eye on that floating island too.
Yep,
They could be
also,
sitting
yep.
there.
Yeah, I can hear. I don't know if anyone else.
I'm
I
just
turned him
waiting
down
for
a
him to
bit,
die
but
at this point.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they said they're going spiral.
Yeah, they are. They are. Hey, what's up, Frick? Welcome to the chat.
Hey, frick.
Good to see you again. So, you know what? I should probably like actually tell people I'm doing this. I don't think I put anything on Twitter yet.
Yeah, that's not good.
I'm gonna do that.
Bad news.
Yeah, back this.
I'll retweet it as well.
Okay, cool. Alright, so he's checking what's on the island up here. Oh, it's half magic, so it's a useful thing, but it's not a necessary thing. It's especially useful for dungeons like level 5, where you have to use magic a lot, and it just helps you have to spend less, which is great. Nothing wrong with that.
Is he going to get it or no?
We'll find. I didn't quite hear him. Unfortunately,
Right.
I do have this.
Well, like
yeah.
based on his level of play of what you've seen so far, do you think he should or no?
I'm gonna say no, because if nothing else, he can always get a magic potion as well, and it's, you know, depending on where he'll be, it's a bit of a trip to get back up here. So it's out of the way. It's not worth the time in most cases. If you're doing 100%, maybe. Hey, yeah, look at that. There's boots.
There they are. All right.
So that's pretty helpful. So we're done with mountain for now. We can get off of that, and boots is going to open up a few things. That's going to open up library, which we don't know what we have in library yet. That's going to open up the series of stones outside the sanctuary, and yeah, so it gives us a few good things. It also just helps us move fast, which is the key thing here. It's very important to be able to move fast. Yeah. So we're heading down to the drainage area right now, and there's going to be 2 items here. There's one in a chest, and there's one in the puddle outside. Now this is another spot where mirror is incredibly useful, because again, you can just vaporize those blocks and do both at once. Otherwise, you have to leave like this, come back in, and then drain the swamp.
I'm checking the other guy just real quick. He does not have the boots yet, and he doesn't have the mirror either, from what I can see.
Okay, cool. So he hasn't been to Death Mountain.
So how would
yet.
you say? I mean, they, you know, obviously they're gonna have different items, stuff like that. But what do you think? Like boots versus not boots. How much time at this point could that potentially save?
Honestly, it a lot. Like, it pretty much, when you're using boots, you're moving at least 3 times your normal speed, and going across the light world, it's going to be vital to be able to have the boots right away. So that's going to be a good advantage for TML that he found those so quickly, and definitely lucky for him that it was in a spot like that. Oh, he should be using a hook shot right here. Oh, another one. He got them both.
Got both of them. Wow.
Yeah, good job. That was a good shot. This cave is incredibly frustrating sometimes, because you... Oh, boomerang. Nothing great. Lantern. Okay, so that's helpful. Bow! That's very helpful. Bow is the only way to kill certain enemies in this game. And
More swords.
Yeah, so he is set on offensive power right now. He is, I'll take that. Like, his luck right now is great. Like I said, bow, so you need bow to be able to take down certain dungeons. The first dungeon, the Eastern Palace, you do require bow, not only to beat the well, you don't need it to beat the boss, but you do need it to get to the boss because of the red Igor that blocks your path. You also need it to get through the several Dark World dungeons, including level 1, because that requires you to shoot a statue as well as kill some of those weird rat things that like to mimic you. I guess they're just called mimics. So, but yeah, that was a good Moldorm cave. That was a lot of good stuff in there. So, that was nice.
All right.
He's practicing his flying abilities. Now it looks like since he's got dazed with him, he probably won't have needed lantern too much, but it does let him light some torches. So. Yeah. No. Although he had fire on already.
I was waiting for him to die. At some point. I want to see 1 or 2 deaths.
No, it did not.
This run.
He's gonna try.
It would be entertaining and exciting.
It'll probably happen, especially since he's around crabs right now. Those crabs deal 2 hearts of damage every time they hit you. So it's they're deadly. They're deadly crabs.
Okay. Anyway, I just abort.
Okay, so it looks like they didn't succeed at false flippers, so they're gonna go away from that.
You're gonna reset it.
Which being able to false flipper is a good thing. I don't personally do it because I don't do this for the speed. I just do it for fun. I'm not a speedrunner for this game, but I do really, really enjoy this game, and I watch a lot of speedruns for this game. So, False Flippers is not something I'm personally well versed in. Probably should be. Super Metroid, however, I love doing weird things like that in.
Gotcha. Yeah, so right now we're about 20 minutes in the run, and his previous runs have been a bit above 2 hours, and I think he said he was aiming for around 2 hours on this run, but maybe that will, you know, obviously luck has a huge factor in how much speed you can get out of this.
And honestly, I think he's good for it, because he's getting a lot of items that are really useful really quick. He's got a lot of the world open to him. Now, we normally you'd be able to get an item from Sahasrahla, but he does not have the Pendant of Courage just yet, so he cannot get that item. So, I haven't seen the map pop up yet, so I'm not sure what these dungeons offer. The dungeons will have either a pendant or a crystal in them, whether they're in the light world or not. And 2 of the dungeons are going to have red crystals, which isn't a thing in A Link to the Past proper, but it kind of is, because the level, it was level 5 and level 6 crystals are what you need in order to get the huge bomb, and having the huge bomb lets you unlock Fat Fairy, and having Fat Fairy lets you get the golden sword and the silver arrows, both of which are, well, one of which is very helpful, the other one is actually vital to be able to beat in the game. And so those 2 crystals, level 5 and level 6, are represented as red in this game, so once he gets that, they'll give him 2 additional chests that he can get, which is nice because you have to get those crystals anyway, so it's not like you'd be going out of the way to get them. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear this music that we're listening to right now, but this is the Dark World dungeon theme, and not the Light World dungeon theme, meaning that we have a crystal in this dungeon, so this is a required dungeon for clearing. None of the Light World dungeons necessarily have to be cleared, or rather, the dungeons containing pendants, I should say. They don't have to be cleared, and you don't want to have to clear them either. At all costs, you would prefer not to have to defeat any dungeons that contain pendants, because that's just a waste of time overall, since pendants are not required to beat the game. But Courage Pendant unlocks Sahasrahla, having all 3 pendants unlocks Master Sword, and those 2 item locations, in some cases, may have a vital item behind them, and you hate to see that, because it's a lot of extra work for just 1 item to have to get.
Yeah, you see a drop.
Yeah,
like
but he already has the Master Sword, so he's good on that.
Yeah, he's got Master Sword, but since he found Master Sword just laying around in the woods, the Master Sword pedestal could be holding anything. So we don't know what that may be. If he wanted to check, he could go read the Master Sword pedestal after he gets Book of Medora, and it will tell him a clue as to what's hiding there. But it's very out of the way, and you don't tend to want to do that.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's like at that point, I'm almost like, just skip the big chest. Why? Just trust me.
Alright, so I haven't found anything particularly amazing in this dungeon just yet, so we'll see. We still got to get what the boss item is. We got the big key, we've got the compass, we got the map, so that means the true dungeon item is likely at boss. Now, we did also open another chest earlier. I believe it was just 20 rupees if I recall correctly there, so that wasn't anything impressive either, so we'll see what boss has.
Yeah. How much would you say of the dungeon is about scouring for items, and how much of it is just trying to complete the dungeon?
So it's going to vary a lot from dungeon to dungeon. Alright, 300 rupees, that's not great. It's helpful because that gets him to Zora, I guess. He didn't have that much before. But yeah, it depends very much on the dungeon. Some dungeons have very few extra items in them, and in many cases, you'll be able to know immediately what items are where based on what things you've already opened. So if you've gotten, let's say you're in a Light World dungeon, and you've gotten the 2 dungeon items. One was the, how would I say? Well, let's say one was like 20 rupees, and the other one was map, and then you also found the big key. So you have those 3 items, and you know that the boss, whom you haven't defeated yet, has an item, and that's the only other item in there. You'll know that's the compass, and you'll know, okay, well, if I don't need if this guy doesn't have a crystal, I don't need the compass, so I can just skip this, and you'll just leave the dungeon right then and there, because you have nothing else you want to do. Now you might want the pendant as well, but yeah, so generally speaking, you also want to have a good idea of the layout of the dungeon too before you go into it to know which items you can get right away. Now, a nice thing here that shows Days Cloud is a great player at this is he had the foresight to know, okay, we have hookshot, so if we go to the right in Eastern Palace, we can hookshot across to a certain treasure chest and just grab that instead of taking the long way around, which was very helpful. That definitely saved some time. But
Alright, let's see it.
okay, so we got almost a perfect kill with the Igors, but got smacked there at the last second. So we gotta wait for him to wake back up. There we go. He's gone now.
This is fine now.
That's nice. And then we have boss. So let's take these guys down. Like I say, he's got key, map, and compass. So this will be a randomized item. We will see which one it is. Importantly, he still needs the crystal, so it's worth it to kill this boss no matter what. But yeah. All right, that's bombs. Not great.
That's a crystal, so let's take it.
But at least there's crystal. Alright, and that's
Not done a
1
map check
out of
yet.
8 dungeons down. Do you need to... You don't need to finish all dungeons, right?
This was
So you only need to finish those 7 that have crystals, and then you need to finish Ganon's Tower. Any dungeon that has a pendant, which there we go. So we have crystals are all in Light World. We have 3 crystals. So we know that we need to get those. And if you ever lose track, you can see in the nice little chart on the right, it'll show you what items are in which dungeon. So that's great. And we don't know what's in the Dark World dungeons just yet. So you'll notice also we have a nice little stop sign on the right side that says not in go mode. Go mode will mean that once we hit that point, we are ready to finish the game. Like there's nothing else stopping us. That will mean we have all 7 crystals and we have every item we need to be able to reach Aghanim and kill Ganon. So
let's go library.
that'll be some time before we see that, of course.
Library race game, and then we can go down, and we'll, since we're out,
I'm gonna check in on the other player just to kind of
Yeah, let's see
how-
where he's at. Let's see if he's got any
doing.
crystals or anything.
We're looking for 2 items if we're
Yeah,
not
so
doing
the other
it.
guy also has Pegasus boots and has 1 red orb.
Okay, so he did
Other
go
than
up.
that,
He's got a red orb. So that's Moon Pearl. Oh boy. So he can enter the Dark World right now. Let's see. And here it is. So he might be either. Does he have any crystals yet?
So we actually had to go get
oh, there we go.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So like our advantage.
Does Nephisstos have any crystals?
Up there without the light source is all.
Yeah.
Now the big problem is if we find like ammo or something, and it goes,
maybe.
"Oh, we did things
It would be
wrong."
like a lit up boss, like it is on TML screen. It's got the.
So they have different screens. He has EP plus, EP Crystal
This would be
plus.
a little bit of
So I
extra
think that's 1.
incentive, I think, or a little bit
EP
extra.
Crystal Plus. Okay, sure. So we'll say he's got that. So it sounds like he might be a little bit ahead of us right now, then, if that's the case. Because, yeah, we just got Moon Pearl. If you already had Moon Pearl. Also, we just got Moon Pearl. That's not lit up on our screen just yet, so I'm sure they'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
Looks like they're using a manual item tracker. So he's got Blue Mail. Not required to beat the game, but definitely handy to have around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute.
Dash out
Yeah.
of there as fast as you
Her tunic,
Here, actually,
or
save it.
I mean, her clothes kind of change.
They do, yes. That's a really fun thing about this game is there's so many custom sprites that the fans have made for this for these randomizers. So we're of course using Medley right now as our sprite from the Wind Waker, which she's very adorable, even though she's an inferior Rito. Breath of the Wild Ritos are the best Ritos, absolutely.
If
Is
you got it, then
they look a lot more normal. I'm not gonna lie, Wind Waker Ritos kind of look like a mess, but you know, whatever. I mean, they're still cute. They're still nice, but
you're a
yeah.
little low on health.
I usually play this as the Samus sprite
You have your fire
because I'm usually playing the
shot
randomizer with Metroid, with Super
Yeah,
Metroid
that
in
makes
it.
sense.
And so you can choose other sprites in that one, but I like to choose Samus just so it's a little bit cohesive. And Samus's sprite will upgrade to the Gravity suit when you get Blue Mail, and will upgrade to the Phazon suit once you get the Red Mail.
Ah,
It's a nice little
Bad.
touch. So we're going up Hyrule Castle Tower right now. Oh, we do have a red crystal. That didn't say that in the tracker.
Don't
Okay, that's great. So Eastern Palace was red.
yeah, no. Yeah, he picked it up as I saw it just briefly. He picked it
Yeah.
up in the library, I think.
Oh no, not the Moon Pearl. So we have the Moon Pearl, yeah.
Oh,
But
sorry.
the crystal that we got from Eastern Palace was a red one, which again means that if he finds the other red crystal, that'll open up the Fat Fairy in Pyramid to get some more items from.
Oh,
So yeah, it doesn't show up red in the tracker, but it is red, I suppose.
I do this
So yeah, we're in Hyrule Castle Tower right now. We're gonna climb up this. There's not really anything like wonderful to collect in Hyrule Castle Tower, but you defeat Aghanim here, and if you defeat Aghanim, that'll get you into the Dark World. Now, he doesn't have Mirror, so getting back to the Dark World won't be that simple. He'll have to save and quit, or getting back from it. He'll have to save and quit in order to return to the Light World, but he'll be able to go back anytime by going through the Hyrule Castle Gate, because that Dark World portal will be open. So we're gonna climb this again. No items to get. This is just a matter of just killing all this. Now, without Lantern, this would be... It sucks. I've done it before. I hated it. Like, everything's just pitch black through most of this because there's no windows in Hyrule Castle Tower.
You can use your boots to dash through a lot of these guys, too.
There you go.
Yeah,
that
that's
room
one thing
especially.
I mean, I guess it's a mainly... Well, I don't know. One thing I don't like about... I guess the game, A Link to the Past, with the lantern is the fidgety movement of the light-up area.
Of the light up area? What do you mean?
Yeah, like the area that's lit up.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean like the lantern? Like, yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay,
lantern.
gotcha.
It lights up an area, and as you turn different directions, it's very fidgety, and I don't like it. But,
Gotcha.
here it is me complaining about a 30-year-old game.
I mean, most old games do have like stuff that's like, oh, this could be a little bit better. Unfortunately, sometimes they remake them to try to make them fix those things and just end up breaking other things. So it's, I don't know. That's how I felt with Link's Awakening's Switch port, unfortunately, which I loved overall. Just there were a few little things where I'm like, oh, okay.
Tell me about them, because I pretty much liked probably all the changes, because I wasn't a huge fan of the original.
Which is fair enough. No, all the intentional changes I loved. Everything that they set out to make better, they did a great job of. But there was just some things about the physics engine used that was just kind of inconsistent for me. Like, the easiest way to tell is that if you pick up a pot and you are standing above a row of pots, so like you're not next to them, you're not in front of any of the, I mean, you're not to the left or right of any of the pots, you're just above them. So you look to the right, you throw the pot you're holding, and it will somehow break against the pot below you.
Yes.
And
wrong with this.
it makes no sense. Like, it makes no physical sense, but it's just because of the physics engine they're using. I also got hit a bunch in that game, and it's like, I don't get hit randomly in Zelda games unless I'm just really not caring. Because, you know, you're just avoiding the 2D sprites on a 2D plane, but the hitboxes just seem to extend a little bit farther than you'd expect them to. Again, just because of the way the physics in the 3D works. I didn't have that problem in A Link Between Worlds at all, whatsoever.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Because I kind of had that experience as well, and like you said, especially comparing it with A Link Between Worlds, which I think is. I mean, Link Between Worlds is probably one of my favorite Zelda games ever. I think it's an excellent game, just in all aspects.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I definitely think like. The problems I had with Link's Awakening Switch were not problems that I'd say like should prevent anyone from buying them either. Like, it's just
little things.
Minor grievances. So, I still had a great time with it. I still love playing it, and yeah. The best thing about it was absolutely the buttons, the number of buttons in Link's Awakening, because you just could freaking have everything that you needed out all at one time, which is a big difference from the Game Boy.
Exactly, the essentials definitely, like just having the Pegasus boots on its own dedicated button at all times. Just, thank you. Sword and shield, obviously, as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so we're in Dark World now.
Yeah, we're in the Dark World. What is he gonna do?
So we got Bow, so that means we can head straight to. Well, no, we don't want to head straight to level 1. So we see where our layout is right now. We want levels 5 to 1. Or, I'm sorry. I'm going to say the original level names. Levels 3, 6, 2, and 5. So that's Ice Palace, Swamp Palace, Misery Mire, Lost Woods. We want those 4 to be able to defeat Aghanim. So we have Fire Rod, which is great. That means that we can kill Mothula, no problem, and get to... Well, we can at least get to Mothula, no problem. We'll see about killing it. But, so that'll be good. It looks like we're going to head up to... Where are we going? Do we have Titan's Mitt? Can we get up there without Titan's Mitt? Oh, I guess we'll find out. I don't know if I've, Right. Yeah, we can. Okay, good. We So we're going up to Catfish right now, and Catfish is going to give us a random item, and hopefully it's going to give us a great random item. This is normally where you get Quake in the game, and it will of course not be Quake because we already have Quake.
Alright, let's see.
What do we got? Yeah, here he comes, big ol' man. And he has given us a heart container. Alright. Helpful, but not important.
Yep.
And you know what, Zelda Remake got a lot of controversy around it that I was surprised about, because I like almost entirely loved it in every way, was Majora's Mask 3D. Because apparently, like, one of the biggest grievances I hear about it is the whole Zora swimming, and I 100% agree with that statement. I think Zora swimming definitely was better in the 64 version, absolutely. But I don't think it was worse enough to where many people are like, this game is objectively worse than Majora's Mask 64, and a lot of people are. Because I loved in 3D that you could just go at any time, which is awesome. So much of Majora's Mask is waiting around, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a good thing either. And it's like, if you really hated it, you could also just be like, oh, I'll just go 6 hours like I could in the other, or was it 6 or 12? It was 12 hours. I go forward to 12 hours like I was
think
forced
so,
to.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, I agree. Like, that's one of the best changes that they made, because it's just so there's two. The whole time aspect in Majora's Mask is a bit of a hit and miss, because on the one hand you can use this kind of time mechanic to make sure that, hey, there are events that happen in sequence, there are kind of actions and consequences further along in time. You build something that's very cohesive, feels very natural, and obviously that's one of the things that people really love about Majora's Mask, is that you have a world that just feels very real, and the characters also have a lot of flesh to them. Alright, let's see what's selling.
Oh yeah. So the second one's the item. You got 20 rupees. So thankfully, this game has been nerfed, or in our case, buffed, because from our perspective, it's amazing. The chest game, the second chest you open will always be the item that you're supposed to get out of there. So it's not entirely random. The first item will be just one of the random normal game items. More rupees, all right. But the actual second chest you open will be the true item you need.
Gotcha.
Which is great.
All right.
I will check my standard checks, and then I will do.
All right. So chasing more chests now, I take it.
Yep, so we're going to check in here. We got another chest happening in this room. We're just seeing what we can find throughout Thieves Town. After we're done with that, we don't need to head into the Thieves Town dungeon, just because it is a crystal. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it is a pendant, which isn't necessary to clear the game. He's going in anyway, so...
There's been a bit of a lack of good key items lately.
There have been, and that happens with... Okay, there you go. That's... So...
Did I get what I wished?
You sure did. We got Titan's Mitt, which that allows us to pick up a lot of heavy rocks, which will block a lot of Dark World portals, as well as it'll just let us get into some areas we previously couldn't, which is nice. Now that's one of the annoyances, is that you would wish not to see important items like that hidden within a dungeon like this, because this is an optional dungeon because of its pendant, but it's required to enter it due to the Titan's Mitt. Oh, he's a cuckoo now. So, to explain that real quick,
yeah,
there are
random.
these little enemies in this game that are little yellow spiral. That thing right there. They're stars. I've never looked at them on their paws. Those stars, when they hit you, they will revert you into your Dark World form. If what you would have if you were in the Dark World without a Moon Pearl. In Link's case, he turns into a pink bunny. In Medley's case, he turns into a cuckoo.
He died.
He sure did.
No.
Oh well.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's an awkward one right there.
I guess he's right.
Yeah, he's right. So okay, looks like he is gonna leave Thieves Town because he got a great item out of it. So it's which is fine. He doesn't need to kill blind unless the Master Sword has something vital. But he has something much better now. So look, for example, he opened up this, and this will allow him to get into Lost Woods.
How do you route this?
That was incredibly Incredibly lucky.
If you're coming this way, I go directly into the
Alright, so let's see. So we're gonna go down this hole. Nope, is that the one? Oh, wait. Nope. Okay, it's not gonna go down that hole. That hole is one of the entrances. There's a few different entrances into this dungeon, and this dungeon has a lot of, or at least one or two. It's got a few unnecessary keys. Okay, he's got mushroom. Mushroom will let him go to the witch and trade it for an item.
Both items are fire locked anyway.
So I have mushroom to
All right, so we're leaving that main entrance. We're gonna go in the side entrance.
Seems they're talking a bit about
That's true. I don't need to hear
where to go next.
You got lucky there, bud.
Okay, looks like he's heading straight to the boss area. Is what he's doing.
Ah,
The rope lever's got him there, whatever that thing is.
Oh, you're
Alright.
fine. You're
So
fine.
the strategy here
You can
is get
into
to the boss,
first-
just clear the dungeon.
first-
Basically,
first
yes, yes. That's what we're doing. And
Get
since
your key from-
this has a red crystal too, so they're getting that red crystal first before the other crystals, so that'll be nice to have that right away. Okay, so we're heading straight to the boss area. We use the fire rod to open that up. There it goes. Now Mothula is a pretty nasty boss. Or Mothura. It's Mothra. That's what it is. No, Mothula.
Yeah.
Mothula is this. Mothra is Godzilla. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
It's-
you can kill the-
gotta remember,
Wait,
because
did you seriously suggest Mothra? Or
well,
was
that's the
that,
thing.
like,
It's named after
confusing
Mothra
too?
because it's the same word in Japanese, basically.
Since you've got
Like,
since
Mothra,
you've got
like
the
Mothra, it would be how you would
Mothra is Mothra in Japanese.
exactly, and that's how you would say Mothula in A Link to the Past. So it's like it's basically the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like it's absolutely a direct reference. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they got away with that, but whatever. I don't know if it's spelled slightly differently in the katakana that they used, but yeah. Yeah, there's one of those things that transforms
I'm
again.
gonna look actually.
We'll see. Yeah, the nice thing about Mothula is the number of spikes flying around. They're a ton of fun.
Let's see, how do they say this in Japanese?
Oh yeah, check that out.
Oh yeah, it is just a moth, huh?
okay.
You got this. Just take your time.
Oh, actually,
4 sword hits will kill him.
apparently in Japanese it's Gamosu.
Really?
Don't
Yeah,
So this boss is called Gamosu, and
yeah,
that
meaning
one-
Gamoth.
yeah,
Oh,
that would
I
make
killed him and
sense.
I died.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I said, Mothula's nasty. Like, Gamosu is nasty. It's a tough boss for the Dark World.
Oh my god. Oh.
That's something I forget about when I play Into the Past, because like
You had
Like,
him.
normally when I approach these things in the regular game, I'm like full of hearts and just really equipped to take on these guys.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting in a randomizer, it's like,
Sword spins do nothing.
ooh, getting into some of these guys right away. Blind is another really nasty boss.
Gold sword spins
Well, the
do
fireballs flying around. Some are a little bit easier.
literally
Um,
nothing to moth. So
Trinex
do
is a
not
little bit
take
of a
it.
problem, but if you can get the ice head out right away, then it's a lot easier.
Do you want to know
Hmm.
the? Do you want to know the boss's name in French?
I absolutely want to know the boss's name in French.
It's I mean I can pronounce French, but it's Mite, so like
Myth?
If he goes up,
Mate?
he's up
No,
on
no.
stage, take
Hello,
a
Tia.
fire rod shot to knock him down.
Oh yeah, well, how's Aloysius say it?
Say M-I-T-E in French. How do you pronounce that? T-E, like the bread.
Meat. Okay, meat. Apparently, it just means moth.
Gotcha.
So
I guess-
in
so it's
French,
just
the
moth.
boss's name is literally just moth. It's quite uninspired.
Nicely
That's
done.
funny.
Great job. That's a hard fight, and you took him out. Nice.
All right, so he beat the boss, and
He
now
did.
you got the
Now my
crystal.
heart is beating.
Got the crystal. Okay.
Give us anything.
And
No, nothing.
now let's see which way they're going to go. They've got a lot of options. They can go a lot of places in the Dark World right now.
So, all right,
They can head down to Swamp Palace,
Checking
no
on the
problem.
competition, who's also doing the same dungeon, isn't up to Mothra yet.
Okay, that's pretty good. Does he have any items we don't?
Yeah, like 100%, so
Let's
go,
see.
Or do we have any items he
He has
don't?
the bag.
Honestly,
Oh, he's got the magic powder? Okay, well, that's not helpful.
He's got Yeah, I think that might be it.
Okay. The magic powder will open up, I believe it's just one item. That'll open up the Mad Batter, which is where you would normally get the half magic in the original game. But you also need
Alright.
Hammer to be able to access that. So without Hammer,
Okay.
magic powder is absolutely useless.
Yeah. Yeah, he also has the Titanic gloves. A lot of the same items, actually.
Okay, so they're going a pretty similar route. So that's-
Almost identical list of items.
Yeah.
TML has Mushroom.
This will work too.
we're going to open King's Tomb.
That
Excellent.
might be, yeah. Actually, the only difference is mushroom and powder. That's the only difference between the two.
Okay. 10 arrows, hooray!
How common is that? That like you're 45 minutes into a run, item list is almost identical.
So, pretty common. You'd be surprised. As long as people are doing their research on this game, they should know what paths they need to take to be most optimal. And, you know, TML may not be, like, super familiar with this, but he has a great mentor on his side that is helping him know what those paths are. Generally speaking, speedrunning communities are very, very communicative. They will talk about every single thing they find. If anyone does anything that they think shaves off time, they'll go into a big, huge discussion about how much time it saves, what the risks are, whether it's worth it. And most of the time, speedruns are going to have, like, a established proper way of doing things. Now, it's a little bit tougher in a randomizer to get that one established way, because it's not like there's some things that just aren't objectively better but are possibly better, and so you have a lot of variance there in many cases, but certain things are always like, oh, this is absolutely what you should do first, and they seem to be subscribing to that. Now, some speedruns definitely vary a lot, because there'll be like, I know in Super Metroid runs, for example, a lot of the time they will just go on completely different paths entirely, because one guy may want to try this trick that they'll do with fast falling, and the other guys may be like, well, that fast falling trick's not reliable, so I don't want to try that. And it'll end up changing the whole thing, because the one guy may have gained a minute if he succeeds, or may have lost 3 if he doesn't succeed. And it's always a trade-off. There's always some kind of trade-off. There's things called marathon safe strats, is what we refer to them as, that are things you would do in a marathon setting where you're not going for a personal speedrun record or a speedrun record in general, but you're just trying to win a race, more or less, or participating in a marathon like Games Done Quick. So,
Well, I still got to get. I was just getting no money out of this.
where's his item?
Yipes.
This is another one. There we go. So his item was 20 rupees, so that's not great. This is like the chess game, this is also guaranteed. I forget at what point, I think it's after 20 seconds, the next item you will get is absolutely the secret item, but wasn't great in this case. Nice.
So we do the smithy.
Said they're gonna do Smithy, but you don't got Mir.
For a long tour.
Oh, they're gonna go that way, I see.
Well, we're only going to Hype Cave,
Yeah.
so it's not as long as usual.
We save and quit with Smithy? Is that an option? Okay, neat. I didn't realize that was a thing.
Stumpy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they're gonna check the Petrified Flute Boy right now.
And onward.
And this is where you would normally get the shovel in the main game, and this time you get 5 rupees. Now, fun thing about the shovel is that after you get the flute, the shovel's gone forever, normally. But in this game, since you can get the flute before the shovel, and there is an item that is only accessible via shovel, you get to keep the shovel the entire game, which is really nice. You can just swap between them on the item screen. They take up the same item slot, but you can still just easily switch between which one you're using. Alright, so we're going to everyone's favorite right now. This is Hype Cave. This is just a bunch of free treasure, basically. 5 free treasures that you get in the middle of the game.
Get your items. so
And
like send-
you never know what's in here. You always hope it's something good. So this guy's going to give us something. 3 bombs, alright. Everything else is bound to go up from there. Heart Container, Cane of Samaria, 1 rupee, and 5 rupees. So Cane of Samaria was good. That's a good find right there. That's going to let us get into Turtle Rock, and it's also very helpful for Misery Mire, and in fact, do you need it to... Yeah, you need it to beat Misery Mire. It's very helpful for Ice Palace, because you get to skip an entire huge puzzle when you have Cane of Samaria, which is fantastic. Yeah, how about that? I actually did not know that Smithy can be brought back using save and quit. So that is good to know.
Oh, we had to
Well-
turn this guy in Smithy. Duh, 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 duh.
Turn him in. I mean, yeah.
We
First.
talked about this. I just had that momentary.
Umber, you know what I love about A Link to the Past? Besides a lot of things.
Yeah, besides all the things, no, I don't know.
I love that
I would.
when you play this game back in 1993 or whenever, yeah, 1991. 91 is when it first came. If you played this game back in 1991, you would find everything that occurs in this game completely normal, and you'd be like, what a nice Zelda game this is. Look at all these cool things.
Yeah.
If you go back and play this game after playing, like,
And if this
even
fails,
Ocarina of Time,
Dark Death Mountain fails.
like, the setting and all the things in here, all the elements, like these dwarven smithies, it's just, like, so completely not what we expect from Zelda these
Yeah,
days.
save and quit and-
Like, the entire aesthetic was just a very different thing. Like, we have a church going on in the north. We have things like the dwarven smithies. We have the types of fairies that are used. Like, everything in this game is just very different from what Zelda would later become as far as the aesthetics go. Which, it's an interesting... It just gives me such an interesting sense of nostalgia because of that. Because I don't get that from any other Zelda game. I get that from this one. Like, just the
I'm now thinking to myself,
just very
that
unique
hammer's just
setting
really
type.
odd, isn't it?
Right.
Because this is
How
also
would you
before...
say, yeah, how would you say it? Like what? Obviously, I just have to ask. So, what about Link Between Worlds? Does it
It
keep
likes
the
to hang
aesthetics
out
that
there
you're
and
kind of
like this.
To a
is
degree.
it similar but not quite, or
It's to a degree it does, but it definitely, Link Between Worlds definitely borrows a lot more heavily from later games. It has the map of this game, and it's got a few of the things that exist in it.
Kinda want-
But you play it, and it feels a lot more like a contemporary Zelda game than it does the setting of Link to the Past. And I think a lot of that is due to basically the backstory that they drop into it, because there became
Going from there.
in Ocarina of Time just kind of this whole mythos that didn't quite exist entirely yet. Now, we had a start of it in Link to the Past. We had the whole, we had the goddesses, they were mentioned. We had the holy Triforce and all that, and we had things like Zelda, Ganon, and Link, their main roles expanded upon. Those things were introduced in here, but in Ocarina of Time, those were made like really fleshed out and incredibly important. And so it's like, it no longer was that like, oh, there's just these three goddesses that made the world. It's like, no, this is like the actual religion and everything in the game. Here, you wouldn't be surprised to think, oh no, it's kind of like Christian, because it was like originally Zelda was a very European based game, or a Europe based game. It was based on European lore, and especially in like Britain and the kind of knights and all that, and the fighting for God and all this. That's what originally Zelda 1 was based on. Link to the Past followed that, but when Ocarina of Time came around, it's like, no, Hyrule's its own world. Like, you wouldn't mistake Hyrule for being part of anywhere in the real world. Hey, this flipper's nice.
There we go.
And that, I think, is what really changed the way Zelda feels. Not in a bad or good way, it just did. Zelda as a set, the Hyrule as a setting changed to be something very different.
We hope
And
we don't care, yeah.
that's why it's interesting to go back to
you
this.
see some of the concept art for I think the NES game, either Zelda 1 or Zelda 2, when you actually see a statue of Jesus and Link is kind of kneeling in front of it or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
You know
like,
what I'm talking about, right?
yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So we'll do hobo.
So those are things that I guess.
Yeah, hobo.
I mean, you and I have talked about remaking, like Zelda 1 or Zelda
Yes, of course.
2, kind of in a similar way that I guess they did to Link's Awakening. But if they were to do it, how do you think they would address those kinds of elements?
Like in straight lines.
So, the unfortunate answer I have for that is those elements would kind of just be overwritten, is what I would say. We saw that in A Link Between Worlds, where certain things that happened in A Link to the Past were kind of changed to be not exactly what happened. For example, at the end of A Link to the Past, spoilers, you kill Ganon. Like, you actually kill him, and he's dead. That is a thing that occurs. Whereas in A Link Between Worlds, he's sealed at the beginning of the game. Ganon has been sealed by the hero of Link to the Past. Similarly, there was Zelda and 7 sages in A Link Between Worlds, whereas Zelda was one of the 7 sages in A Link to the Past. And then in addition to that, like, everything's just kind of been updated to be more familiar to longtime Zelda fans. Like, even Rosso, this random dude, looks kind of like a Goron rather than a dude, even though Gorons don't appear in this game. He kind of looks like one because it's familiar. The Zoras, despite being the traditional... oh, Mir, excellent. Despite the Zoras being the traditional, like, angry Zoras that would attack you, their designs have been very much updated to be a lot cuter and more in line with the kind of Toonish aesthetic. Not quite like Toon Link aesthetic, but more towards that side of things. And they really did. They changed up the aesthetic a lot for Link Between Worlds, so I think they would change it up a lot for the first Zelda game. The first Zelda game, for example, is mostly brown. And I think that would be the first thing to go. Like, that's one of the most familiar things about Zelda 1 is just the colors used. Like, you play that game, it's like, you don't see those colors in other Zelda games. You don't see everything in the world being brown, and a lot of that was limitations. Maybe it was like, oh, because it's a ruined world. Bombs, very nice. 500 rupees for 3 bombs. But if that would be the first thing that would change, is Zelda 1 would suddenly have like lush environments. Like, you'd have an actual forest. The graveyard would look a lot spookier. The mountains would be a lot more imposing. There'd be a lot of changes made just to how the world looks. I don't think Link would have a cross on his shield anymore. I don't think that would be it. I don't think he'd carry around a Bible. Like, I think I don't know what they would change that to specifically. I don't know if it would be made into like a talisman or something, some kind of jewel. Like, that's much more in line with standard Zelda. I think they'd keep certain things like the rings. I don't think they'd change that to like new tunics, personally. I think they'd still keep the rings and be like, yeah, the ring gives you more power and changes your color.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, rings are generic enough.
Yeah. But it's definitely... There'd definitely be a lot of things that would be changed up a bit. The flute would become the ocarina. The freaking...
Take your fire
yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see it, though. Personally, I'd love to see them use the Breath of the Wild engine to remake Zelda 1, just because I want them to be radically different. I want to see what it would look like in their minds if they were to do so. I think that would just be really fun. A straight-up remake would also be, like, more of a remaster, I guess, would also be fun, but I want to see it, like, completely reimagined from the ground up. Wait, does he have powder?
What are you doing with the purple chest here?
Well, nothing right now, because they don't got powder, so it's, that's not going to be helpful for them. So this is where you would use powder to get the Mad Batter, but they don't... Wait, hold on. Am I learning something new here?
So, drain all your magic.
Oh, what's it? What are they doing?
Red cane.
Okay, I'm, like, legit interested.
Done.
What? Oh my gosh, I don't know what they just did, but it's cool. They got that without powder. Oh gosh. I've seen like dozens upon dozens of randomizer runs, and you still don't see everything. So it's that's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating to see. I like that.
So sick kid.
So they do have chests now, so that they take that to the desert, there will be a lockpick there that will be able to open it up.
On your way.
Oh, gotcha.
That's where they're heading right now.
Hey, sleepy boy, wake up.
Yeah, they have a bottle now, so he'll give them an item.
Give me bombs.
More bombs!
And
I remembered about halfway through. Should we do the
So
dark
they're
one?
talking about where to go next, and not
Yeah.
we're gonna
entirely
it's
sure.
time for us to head down to the
And it's been an hour now, so, and their target was around 2 hours.
I think
Do
they're
you
on
think
track.
they're on?
go down and just turn in the
Yeah.
purple chest.
Yeah, I think so. They so let's see what they got to do here still. So they got to get 5 more crystals. Each dungeon usually should only take no more than 10 minutes, if that. So that's not going to be a major problem. Let's take a look at what items we are still missing that they still need. So we will need Ice Rod in order to take down Trinex. That's vital. We will need the hammer in order to get through some of the dungeons and in order to access some parts of the world. We will need Flute in order to access the Misery Mire. We will need likely at least 1 more medallion in order to access one of the dungeons. Possibly 2, though. We don't know for sure. We have Quake. That might be one we need, but we will see. And then, apart from that, yeah, we have... none of the other items are necessary. We have every other necessary item we need, but may become necessary depending on what we have to do. So, we, if we're lucky, those ones I mentioned are the only ones we'll need. Otherwise, we may need additional ones, such as the Book of Medora and the... Well, it might just be the Book of Medora. That might be the only questionably necessary item that we'd need. Yeah, I think it is. So that would be it. The Book of Medora is questionably necessary, and yeah. Also, I just noticed. No, I didn't. I thought we had Courage Pendant. We don't. We didn't get a pendant. We left that dungeon, so we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we can't
I'm gonna check in on the competition.
Yeah, let's see what we got there.
Let's go do that.
Pretty much the same. Better shield for the competition.
Oh, they got a better shield. Well, they have a shield in general, so that's nice. We don't have any shield.
Oh, okay.
I wonder where they found that.
They have. The other team has 3 crystals.
Yeah, we got 3
Total.
crystals as well. So we're wait. No, we only got 2. Aghanim's not a crystal. What's wrong with me? Oh, they've already. Which crystal did they get?
Yeah, I remembered that.
SW, EP, and TDH or TOH.
Tower of Hera. Okay, that's where we're heading right now. So yeah, I'm gonna say they're a little bit ahead of us.
Oh gosh.
Oopsie. That was an unintentional jump. Okay, so yeah, we have mirror, so that means we can enter Tower of Hera. We could also do it with. We do it with hookshot. Yeah, we could do it with hookshot. So we would have been able. Oh, what we need hammer too. We didn't have hammer, so we wouldn't have been able to access it. Oh, he just did speed power by using. Did he use a ladder? I don't know. All right, either way, we're going up to Tower of Hera. We'll pick up something off Spectral Rock along the way.
Do not hit me this
What do we
time.
have? 20 rupees. How nice.
Okay, I'll take that. Fine.
All right, and here we go. There's usually a few treasures
A lot of
in here.
rupees, bombs, and heart containers.
Yes, rupees are the most common item to appear in chests throughout the game. So now, while you wouldn't normally see rupees throughout the world, just laying around like you would heart containers, because rupees are so commonplace, they take up a lot of those slots. Now, fun fact about these randomizers, if you don't like that, you can change this randomizer very, very granularly in amazing ways. So it's like, oh, well, I don't like how these treasures are laid out. You can literally go in, before you make your randomized ROM, you can reduce the number of certain types of chests, you just have to fill them in with something else. So, like, let's say, for example, I didn't like that I have so many heart containers I can get. I could take that number down and replace it with heart pieces, so that I have more interesting things to get. And then I can also take down rupees to fill in the additional slots filled by the heart pieces. That way, you're not finding something as useless as often. The heart pieces aren't necessarily necessary, but they're more fun to find, I would say. Or my favorite personal mode in the Link to the Past randomizer is to do a Triforce Hunt, wherein the pieces of the Triforce are scattered throughout the world in random locations, and you have to find them all. I think the default setting for
I
that...
don't know, man. I'm having Wind Waker flashbacks.
Exactly. I think the default setting for that is 8, just like in the original game and in Wind Waker. I have done it with 100 pieces so far, before, and it was a blast. Like, holy cow. So, in that case, most of the rupees are gone now. Like, most of the rupee chests. I took out, like, all the 1s, 20s, and all that. I left a few hundreds, so that when I got rupees, it actually mattered. And then most of the chests you would find would just be Triforce pieces. I think there's 220 chests thereabout in A Link to the Past, so like half the chests would be Triforce pieces, and so you're finding a bunch for a long time. And then that's how you win the game. Once you get your 100th piece, you win the game, and it's just a fun variation to do, I've found. So it gets a little frustrating towards the end, though.
With, yeah, you can probably do some speedrun like that with the My Mice in A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, for sure. I think are there Link to the Past randomizers yet? I'm not sure, but yeah, My Mice would be a good one for that. I'd like to imagine, like, you know, the My Mice that are sticking against a wall.
Yeah,
I'd like to imagine just like random items sticking against the wall, and you have to push yourself off of the wall, break an item off. Someone glued it there.
For us, that means we've actually got a chance of hitting something big here if they did Terrapot. So let's you've got boots and hookshot. You don't need to go up.
Oh gosh, you're right.
That's okay. If you're already there, you're already there.
Jessica's
so
offering.
they're talking a bit about they might have some
One of those
issues going up later in this dungeon, it seems, but
No worries.
We'll see.
I think I've hit
We do
all
have the golden sword, thankfully. So I know
I was hoping that that'd be something better.
I never realized this before watching other people play. Because, you know, I was 9 years old when I first played this game, so I don't remember what I struggled on initially. I guarantee that this guy is one of them. I guarantee I struggled on Moldorm. But I didn't realize how big of a problem it was until I saw other people playing it for the first time. And, like, they just get knocked around and by him, fall off a whole bunch, and it's like, wow, yeah, this guy really is tough. But we've got Golden Sword. So it's just going to take like, 2 or 3 hits to kill him, I think, is all it is.
Let's see.
Especially if he spin attacks. I think his spin attack might even kill him in one, but...
Oh, there we go.
Yep, there we go. Just 2 hits and he's dead. It's the beauty of Golden Sword against Moldorm, and most of the early bosses, for that matter. I have a Golden Sword. Oh, shield. Okay, so that's where our friend got his shield from. Is from clearing Moldorm.
Alright, so it's 3 dungeons down.
Yeah. Alright, so we have 4 more dungeons that need to be cleared for crystals. Again, hopefully that's all we need to clear. We do still need those few items. We didn't get a necessary item out of that dungeon, which is to be expected. You don't usually get things.
Oh,
in
you know
dungeons
what?
Hmm.
You know what I just realized?
What'd you just realize?
Save and quit there. Save and quit.
So
This is to go to CAC to go to Dark World.
they are actually playing in the same world, so to speak.
Yes, that is correct.
As in,
yes.
both people have the same contents of chests and items and stuff like that.
Correct. So when we do randomizer runs like this...
Okay, that explains a lot, actually.
You just thought they were just happened to be getting all the same stuff?
Yeah, that's why I was asking,
I
like,
gotcha.
hey, so
I gotcha.
how common is it that they get the same items, or, you know, roughly the same items?
I gotcha. Yeah, because, no, there is route variants where they would check different things, and that would produce different items,
Yeah.
but no, I see what you're saying now. No, yeah, so when you make one of these randomizer ROMs, you make what's called a seed. It's just it's a hexadecimal code, or is it hexadecimal? Whatever it is. It's a sequence of letters and numbers that will tell you exactly what's contained in this ROM. So you would take that seed that you generate, give it to someone else, they'd input that seed to the randomizer, and get the exact same setup that you have. So all the item locations, all the crystals, all that stuff, that's exactly the same between both ROMs, and that's how we do the races. I don't know if randomizers...
Makes a lot more sense.
Yes. I don't know if randomizers initially came about to be races or not, probably, since it's a speedrunning heavy focus thing, but that either way, the seeds are a very important thing in the randomizer community in order to do fun things like this. Alright, so we're going to go check the graveyard chest up here. We're going to climb up this little rope ladder, and that's going to let us access a cave in the light world.
Just trying to think of we can route that in later, but like.
And in here we will find one item, and that one item is going to be something.
Oh god, I just realized you have.
Normally it's a piece of heart.
You have both red.
This time it is a...
I do. I've missed it.
Oh, okay. It's a level 2 shield. That's not bad. That protects us from
I think
fireballs
the
at
other
least.
player had that too. I'm gonna check in on the other player.
Ooh, that sounds like they're a fair amount ahead then.
I thought I saw it.
Because
At
they didn't
one
do the
point.
map chest, yeah.
I mean, they just got different items, really.
So-
Yeah, is there anything we have they don't?
Go do Witch's Hut,
Not at
and
this
then-
time. Well, actually, a bottle.
Okay, you're gonna have to go do
They don't have
Witch's
any
Hut
bottle?
first Anyway. Here, let's go do Witch's Hut.
No, one. Yeah, no. Oh, we both have one bottle.
Yeah, we got one bottle. So
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Yeah, still the powder.
okay, which
But other than that, 3 crystals.
Yeah.
okay. So if I had to guess, I'd say we're probably like 5 or 7 minutes behind, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Them. So, and that could change always at a moment's notice. You
Oh
never
yeah, they're
know.
actually they're actually in the same cave. So I'm gonna see what they're getting here.
Oh, that means they might be getting Mirror Shield then, if they were just in that same cave. Which means we didn't find the same
Oh,
shield.
So, saving
Yep,
quit to-
they got the. I assume the golden shield is the mirror shield.
Yes, it is. That's right.
That's our only.
The way shields and swords work in this game is that you don't find the same sword and the same shield in every location. Instead, it's what we call progressive sword and shield,
So we are going
wherein if you have a certain sword already, the next sword you find will be the next level up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so since we had the smaller shield, we had the level 1 shield, we found a level 2 shield in that cave, but since our enemy, Nephisstos, what's his name again? Nephisstos? something like that.
Blah.
The foe, you know. Either way, yeah, he had the level 2 shield already, which means that when he entered that cave, he found the mirror shield, which is very nice to have. It's not a necessary item, but a helpful one.
Take it up that portal there.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
we
but
can't
I'm
go
away.
any other way.
Alright, so we didn't find anything good by handing over the mushroom to the witch. That's unfortunate.
Sorry.
So we're back in the dark world now, running around at the speed of sound. And
Very cool.
where are we gonna head to?
Yeah, you were talking a bit about Metroid earlier.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like me.
Mainly from a speedrunning or randomizer kind of thing.
While you're playing?
Now, I'm not a huge fan of Super Metroid, as you know.
Which is understandable. Sorry, eating an egg. As a casual
Yeah,
player,
that's
I will say
fine.
no.
I think I'm gonna
It's not a great
go
game for
just-
casual folks.
Yeah. I'm gonna sneak off here shortly and make some sandwiches. But yeah,
Yep.
I played through, or I'm currently playing through the Metroid Prime trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of all the games back to back. I'm currently almost halfway through Prime 3.
Let's do it.
Which is good because that's the worst one.
Let's do a Hail Mary. First chest is
So obviously, I'm probably gonna disagree. But I can kind of see where you're coming from, because
I would say you could do that.
so having played through them, I played Prime 3 twice. I think I played all games
You can do that
2 or
before.
3 times. I probably played the first Prime
That
a
before, and it's
few more
long
times.
thing, it's had the hammer in it
I would
before,
say
and
that
it's
the
even
first
been
game,
a long
the
time.
first
It's a
Prime,
Hail
is
Mary.
probably the best for, I mean, replayability.
This is a waste of time.
It's a game that it's just kind of, it drops you off, and it's like, all right, go be on your way.
This point of the game,
The
But-
polar
yeah.
opposite of that is Prime 3, which is
Mhm.
very
Like, I'm hoping that.
and it's bothered me more this time. And obviously, the first time you play it, because it has more of a story going on, you're more involved in it. And I will say, obviously, the best thing about Prime 3
my thing is
compared to the other ones is that, hey, there's more of a thing happening in the world. There's a story. There's other characters. Prime 3 has a lot of good things to offer, but playing it on a second or third time or beyond, it's a little like,
Yep.
all right,
You get the key. And then
Shut
you
up.
go bomb open the wall.
Aurora woman.
Probably leaving it
There's
in
a there's a good reason for that too. And just real quick, what's up, Full Night? Welcome to the chat.
The thing is
And
that
Mr.
this is
Edit.
the thing.
I'm coughing. 1 second.
I will welcome new players to the chat. We are streaming.
We're streaming that I don't know how to eat an egg without dying. Holy crap.
Clearly.
what we
That
got
must
to
be
do.
an
That's
American
what we
thing.
got
All
to
right.
It is. Anyway, yeah, welcome guys. It is a quick note, Mr. Edit. I am not actually playing this. We're commentating on a friend of ours, TML from Zelda Universe. He is participating in a race for Link to the Past Randomizer, so we're enjoying watching that.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
And
it's
back to Metroid Prime 3.
had
So,
to be there,
you say it doesn't have good replayability,
a couple of times.
and
I'm
I
not saying
100%
it
agree.
doesn't have good replayability, but I'm comparing it to Prime 1 and 2.
As you should, because here's the main difference between those games, is that in Prime
I just
1 and
figured
Prime
out,
2,
let's take one
you
point.
are thrown into a world
So
with
unlike-
basically no real information, and you're now asked to look around this world. And so because you're asked to look around the world, you don't necessarily know what you're going to find. And as someone who's played Metroid Prime several times over and loves that game, I love and adore that game. I don't always remember which way to
I
go.
agree with you.
I don't always remember where I'm supposed to be going to progress the game. I'm just kind of looking around still and figuring things out. And
If you drop the
that's
bomb,
what I really like, is being able to explore and figure things out on my own to deter. Did he just lose the bomb?
Mm,
Okay, it's still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. I think he went back into the portal.
Yes.
This time.
But Prime 3 doesn't let you do that.
That's
It tells you where to go. You're like, okay, now you're going to
Yeah.
go to this planet. You're going to go in a straight line to the end of the planet,
Oh,
beat the
God,
boss,
it's
and then you're going to
freaking
leave that planet.
Okay, so we.
And it's not that that's necessarily bad. Oh, you got flute. That's good. It's not that that's necessarily bad. It's just not as interesting for a second playthrough. It's like you're playing Prime 3 is much more playing a story than it is of exploring a world.
Yeah, you're gonna be up on the
And
field now.
I don't like that as much. Some games could do it
Yeah.
great. Like people
I
obviously
would
love
say
games like
it's-
Uncharted that are like that, but That's not my jam.
Yeah, I would say it's not entirely like that, because you do have the different planets in Metro Prime 3. Some of them will let you explore around a bit more. So, for instance, in the when you go to Brio, which is the first planet, it's very much like I said. It's just a straight line, pretty much.
Right.
Like go from point A to point B and whatever. Then you get to the other planets, and they're a bit. You can walk around them a bit more and discover things. But you're right in the sense that you are limited within that sub area of the planet, and you don't have that sense of. When Metro Prime 1, for instance, you can go and explore. It's like, oh, here's an elevator. Oh, it took me to Fandana Drifts. I don't think I need to be here right now, but I'm going to explore around anyway. That sense of, like you said, just kind of exploring, going around, finding things is not present at all in the same way.
And it's especially true because you talk about going to Fandana Drifts. So you found that elevator to get there. And what's the greatest thing about that? That's not the only elevator to get there. You're going to, at some point in the game, find another way to get in there that leads you to new things within that same area. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. And you're now exploring it from a different angle. And you're like, wait, what if I went this way before? What if I found this way earlier? What would that have done for me? And that's what I really like. And in Metroid Prime 3, you don't really have that as much. You're not really going back to old planets for new exploration as much. It's kind of like... In some cases, yeah, you'll go back to them, especially if you want to get 100%, but you don't really just do it because you want to progress the game. You do it because you're trying to 100% the game. Generally speaking, when you're done with the planet in Prime 3, you're done with the planet in Prime 3.
You come back later for some items, especially pickups, but generally, like I said, you're pretty much done. And I think... Because originally, I put Prime 3 as my favorite of the three, slightly ahead of Prime 1. I still do think that the second game is just not as good, because it does the things that Prime 1 does, but not as good.
It's almost a remake of Prime 1, but this time there's a Dark World and a Light World as far as progression goes.
Yeah,
like
they're
very similar. Like, which means it does mean it's still enjoyable to play. It's still such a fun game. It's just like if you were going to pick between Prime 1 and Prime 2, you'd pick Prime 1 every time.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it is that it introduces some elements that are frustrating. Like going into the Dark World initially is kind of annoying because you're always losing health, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna pause here and just stand still for a minute to heal up, which is boring.
It is. You are absolutely correct.
You also have the ammunition system, which doesn't feel good.
So mean.
It's weird, to say the least.
Yeah.
This is the troll apparently.
And I would say for Prime 3, what I like about it the most is that it evolves the gameplay in a lot of meaningful ways from Prime 1 and Prime 2. So one of the main things about Prime 1 and Prime 2 that you do is you just kind of beam switching, visor switching. And a lot of that has been removed in Prime 3 in favor of other mechanics. So you have the grappling hook, which you can use to pull stuff out and attack enemies. And a lot of these things are very good because the core gameplay has evolved a lot. But I will recognize that, when you're talking about replayability, if you're asking me, hey, do you want to go back and play the first Prime game or Prime 3? I'll probably pick the first one.
Yeah, I definitely think Prime 3 is worth playing in every sense of the word. Like, I don't think it should be skipped, and it's not like... I don't like it as much personally, but it doesn't make it a bad game. It's still... The Prime Trilogy is a fantastic trilogy. Like, I cannot believe how good they did with that. I can't believe they made 3 games in a row that the things that we say negatively about them are generally very minor things. They just did such a good job with those games.
Exactly, and they're only... When we say, hey, there are annoyances or there are issues or a lot of it is just kind of comparing it to each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And saying that, hey, this game is not as good as one of the best games ever isn't much of a... it's not much of a criticism.
They're all still above 8 out of 10 games, basically.
Yeah. And I will say, too, that I still hold probably that Prime 3 is probably the best game if you play for the first time. Like you probably come out of thinking like, oh wow, that was
It's
amazing.
definitely way friendly. You know, I would absolutely agree with that, especially because it's friendlier to newcomers overall. It's much more of a it's much more of a good introductory experience because you're kind of that being told where to go. If you've never played a game like Metroid Prime before, that's very helpful. It really is. Like Prime, you can get lost for days in because you're like, I got no idea what I'm doing. But so going straight into that might be a little tough. But starting off at Prime 3, I think that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, and I also think that the story and the characters do help you to kind of give you motivation. It's like, oh, you know, I wanna go encounter Rundas because he's cool, or you know, I want to fight him, and they give you a lot of.
That's the spoiler. You don't
a lot
want
of
to
other
fight Rundus.
or incentives to go
And if it's
out,
we
just
if
other than, hey, it's fun exploring, which it is.
Which, and that's the thing, is that's my main draw for gaming. So like for someone like me, that's what I want to see. But yeah, that's that may not be for everyone. If you've never done an exploration-based game before, you want a little bit of extra story to help introduce you to it and to help guide you into what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
The funny thing is Castlevania had a very similar trilogy, where it kind of happened the same way as the Metroid Prime trilogy, wherein the first game was straight up exploration, fully open. You go around and you figure out where you're going. The second game was more of that, but with a new gimmick that kind of changed up how that exploration worked. And then the third game kind of axed a lot of exploration. Hey, a shovel. That gives us one more item. Axed a lot of exploration in favor of a hub world, or in Metroid's case, the ship, where you kind of choose whatever you go, and it's mostly a straightforward kind of thing. So, and then as such, I don't much care for the third DS game for Castlevania, but a lot of people love it because it's got great combat, and it does. It really does. So there's good to be had in it, even though there's things that I don't care for in it.
Yeah.
You need to play those games,
and I think
by the
also
way.
when you're talking about Metroid, worth mentioning too is that one of the main great things about Prime 3 when it first came out was the motion controls and the aiming.
Well, and there's also the risk
That is true.
which the other games didn't have at the time.
And that's why the Wii version is my favorite version of Metroid Prime. Like, it's missing a few things, which sucks, but those two things it's missing are also meaningless entirely. So, it's like particle effects, for example. But the aiming in it, it's perfect. It's great. It's exactly what I wanted a Wii for, to be able to like just aim really easily. And I'm glad that Nintendo still holds on to that idea. Like, obviously the aiming in Switch games isn't as precise as the aiming on Wii games, because we had the sensor bar in the Wii. It was infrared. It was like actually just perfectly. It was a perfect system for aiming. It's but it's a little bit more complex and not as intuitive for just the average user. So now we have gyro aiming, which we use in tandem with stick aiming to create more fine aiming, which I love because no one else does that. No one else uses their gyro controls. Sony ticks me off so much. We just had the PS5 reveal just this last week. I am so excited because I'm going to be playing Horizon Forbidden West. I'm going to love it. I love the Horizon game. I love Horizon Zero Dawn, so I'm going to love this one too. I'm so excited for it, but it's a game where you're shooting a bow a lot. And you know what would be really helpful for a game where you're shooting a bow a lot? Gyro controls. But even though the DualShock 4 does have gyro controls, and I'm pretty sure the DualShock 5 does too. I'd have to double check that. Even though it has that built in, it doesn't use them. I can't think of a single Sony game that uses the gyro controls, despite how useful they are, and it's maddening. Yeah. I would have loved it in God of War too. That would have been nice. Spider-Man doesn't have a lot of aiming, so there wouldn't have been a lot of use for it in Spider-Man, I guess I wouldn't say. But God of War, and especially Horizon Zero Dawn, would have been great to have those in there.
Yeah, it's like if you play Splatoon, for instance, you can switch from gyro to dual analog. And I tried it once, and I'm like, no.
Yeah,
Like,
but even in Splatoon, it's like you can use the right
controller.
stick to aim and then use gyro to finely tune, right? Like,
Sure.
it's not like it's 100% gyro. So it's like you get a combination. I like that combination. It's a good combination.
Right.
Especially because the very nature, the one unfortunate thing about gyro is that it does kind of drift after a while. Like your dead zone isn't where it's supposed to be. But they mitigate that with games like Breath of the Wild, where your gyro isn't on 100% of the time. It's on when you're aiming. and therefore you don't have it get out of sync. The only time in Breath of the Wild where it's really noticeable is in those shrines where you have to use the gyro to move a ball around a board. It's very noticeable that after a minute it gets very out of sync with what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of holding the controller almost upside down to.
Yeah, like I
get it
have to detach
speed.
the Joy-Con for that if I'm playing in handheld mode, because it's like I otherwise I'm turning my Switch entirely around to be able to do those segments, and it's yeah, I have to switch over to that. So in cases like that, gyro is not great, but in cases where you can do it along with the stick, where you're constantly forcing your dead zone to change, it works fantastic. I love it. I use it on Steam actually for Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
Oh, really?
Two games that I also really love, of course, but the Steam controller is what I initially used to do it because that had gyro, but now the Switch Pro controller is compatible with Steam, so I use that now. Where, yeah, if I'm playing Shadow of Mordor and I hold down the button to aim, then bam, it switches over to letting me use gyro controls too, which is, I love it. Makes the game even better for me. Does nothing but help a game. And, you know, if people don't like it, bam, turn it off, no problem. We're fighting blind. That's interesting. Why are we fighting blind? I guess we want all those pendants. That's fine. Nothing wrong with getting every pendant other than time. The other guy fight blind? Check to see if the other guy fought blind.
He will do. Let's see. The other guy has SP, SW, and IP for crystals.
That's unfortunate. So the other guy, yeah, he's already progressed. He's got 2 more crystals than we do then, which is unfortunate. We have a pendant, which isn't great unless we really need it. Like, the good news is if we do end up needing the pendants, we'll be in a great spot, but
You don't have a hammer.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, they might know something I don't. We'll find out.
Dash to the castle.
The other guy also has the hammer.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Oh, and the TR medallion.
You know what?
And the the Turtle
It's
Rock
the
medallion.
leftmost medallion.
Okay, so-
leftmost.
Yeah. So he's got the one that'll get him into Turtle Rock, which we don't know what medallion we need for that just yet. Don't tell me, because that's going to be a spoiler. We know what we need for Misery Mire. We need Ether. We do not have Ether,
Everything's good.
so there's nothing we can do about that. But him having Hammer, that's good. That's a good thing for him to have. That gets him into a few spots too.
Playing a hack game has
So we'll see. Again, anything can change in these games. We never know how anything is gonna end up going. We will see.
All right.
okay.
All right. I'm gonna let you entertain everyone for a minute while I get.
Yeah, you go
those-
make yourself a sandwich.
while
I'm
I go
gonna-
get some sandwich.
I'll talk about this. What's happening here? All right, so we're back in Dark World. Looks like we're heading over to Dark Palace. We're gonna take on level 1, where we do have another pendant, which I don't know why we're focusing on pendants right now, but that will open up for us at least to get the item that's in the Master Sword pedestal, which maybe it'll be a good item. Maybe they know something I don't over there. We'll find out. Dark Palace isn't a long one. It's pretty easy to get through. It also has a significant number of treasure in it, which is great. So we'll be able to get a few chests there. Might be something helpful in there. That's where we might. Well, we don't have Hammer though.
What? He probably did the same.
This will be interesting. We'll see how this goes.
Never know.
Is Hammer needed? Maybe it's not needed. You get Hammer in this palace, but maybe it's not needed to clear the palace. Apologize, I'm not a professional speedrunner or anything. I've played randomizer runs several times. I enjoy them. So I will forget some things here and there. This is just for fun. This is just our friend playing a game. TML. You might remember him from the Grand Adventures back in the day if you're an old fart like me, I guess. I used to not be an old fart, but then I found out that everyone that likes the same things I do is, generally speaking, 5 to 10 years younger than me, which is insane. So it's weird when life ends up that way. Either way, so yeah, TML used to work at Grand Adventures. That's where I first knew about him from. Great Zelda fan site. It was really big in the early 2000s. One of the best ones. You'd go there and it would play the Gerudo Valley theme right when you walked in, because that's what we did back then. We made our websites play music when you went to them. Obviously that's super annoying these days, so we tend not to do that anymore. But now he works with Zelda Universe. He's a writer over there. Does some great articles. One of their best writers. There's a lot of good people over there. I love the people at Zelda Universe.
I don't think
Me and Ombre
it's
used to
dungeon,
work with
to
them.
be honest,
We
'cause
used
if
to
you get a hammer, then
do various things. Ombre was a video director and part of the podcast for a while. I would join in on the podcast a few times, and just a great fun time.
right.
And last hung out with TML at Ombre's wedding. It was a great time. We all met up at with Ombre, even though we all come from completely different parts of the world. The three of us couldn't be any farther apart from each other. And we all met up. It was fantastic, really fun time.
I go
Spent the day with TML down in Stockholm, which was great. It was really fun to just kind of run around there, see everything,
You're
and
gonna pick up the keys somewhere. So yeah, go right side.
yeah, it was a good time. So right now, TML, for those of you joining, he is playing this game with a mentor. He has Dazed Cloud with him, who is who's more familiar with randomizers like this, and is help. Oh, that's why they. Oh, that is strange. He dashed into it and electrocuted. The golden sword should have prevented that. Maybe not. Either way, he's more familiar with this game. More familiar than I am too, for sure. I play randomizers casually. I do not do them for speedrunning, but I do play them casually. I love them. Specifically, this and Super Metroid are the only ones I really get into. I haven't really tried any others yet. I'm thinking about it. We'll see. Maybe someday I'll do an Ocarina of Time randomizer. It could be fun. Would y'all like to see that? If you'd like to see that, let me know, and I'll make it happen.
Mirror shield.
That's why he had the other shield, because he had already done. He'd already done this. He'd already done Eastern Palace. No, he didn't. He didn't do Eastern Palace.
How did that not open the door?
I'm confused now. I'll have to double check with Ombre where the other guy's at,
That's
because I could have. I sworn he didn't say the Eastern Palace. No, not Eastern Palace. Palace of Darkness. I could have said. I could have sworn that Pod wasn't done yet. I've called it Eastern Palace this whole time. What's wrong with me? It's not Eastern Palace. It's Palace of Darkness. So, still plenty of treasure to get in this dungeon. We'll see what else we can scrounge up. We'll get that pendant, and will that be our third one? No, it won't be our third one. Our third one's at Turtle Rock. I'm not sure if he wants to do Turtle Rock or not. Might just be doing this just for the treasure, just to get as much as they could. Yeah, we do need to find Ether. We still don't have that. So we're going to cut a couple treasure boxes down here. One on the right, one on the left. There's compass,
Wow,
and we
like,
got...
it's like-
What do we got? Map. Alright, the two most useless items to find in a dungeon, unfortunately. You find them in every dungeon, but you never actually need them in any dungeon.
Alright, well, let's see what's over on Big Chest side.
Okay, we're going through this dark maze.
so 2 keys, yeah. So the hill
Let's
is
see what we
up
can
now.
find in here. Besides a
Yeah,
lot
so
of
if it's
fireballs.
here, you go to Ice Palace quick.
Nice thing is we have the red
You
mails, so
just-
those aren't going to be too much of a problem.
because it has
Pretty
to
much,
be.
he is fully equipped right now to take on anybody. He's got the mirror shield, he's got the red mail, he's got the golden sword. He's not going to worry about dying anymore in this game. We are safe.
Got lost.
Alright,
No,
we have
no,
20
no, no,
groups.
no, no,
Not
no,
helpful.
I'm
Let's see what we
actually
get from Big
really
Chest.
interested in this because that would mean that we probably are in this game
Yeah,
very
still.
much.
If it's
Hey,
not the
come
Big
on, something
Chest,
good, something good.
Okay.
Moment of truth.
And we got magic powder, so... Okay, so I guess he did do pod.
Yeah.
That can't
He was probably just doing it for the treasure as
Ice
well.
Palace.
An Ice Palace. All right.
Oh yeah, we're leaving this. We're not going on pendants. Awesome. So yeah, we're just doing it for the treasure. So we're gonna see what we have elsewhere.
All right, I'll be right back. Okay.
Alright, so we're back in the light world. We are warping over to... Where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go? Number 8. Looks like we're doing Ice Palace next. Alright, so Ice Palace is a fun one in a normal run because it is one of the most confusing dungeons there is. They actually nerfed this in the Game Boy Advance remake to where if you're playing this on the Game Boy Advance, the main puzzle of this dungeon is just incredibly easier. I don't even know why, honestly, it's easier. I don't remember what they did to change it. I haven't played the Game Boy Advance version in a while. But it is immensely easier. Casual players will get stuck here for a while, for sure. Even I honestly will kind of forget. I won't get stuck like for a super long time, but I will forget. It's like, oh right, I gotta walk around this way, not this way, to get around the block and to raise and lower the little things. But we don't gotta worry about any of that. because we got Cane of Samaria. So the main puzzle of this dungeon, which is pushing a block from one level down to another level so that it can be pushed onto a specific switch, is completely skippable because we can just make blocks for ourselves. And that is not a randomizer exclusive thing. You can do that in any run of A Link to the Past. Because when you are playing Link to the Past, you can do the dungeons in several different orders. You always have to do Dark Palace first. That is a requirement, but apart from that, once you do Dark Palace, you can go on to do let's see what you could do Swamp Palace, which is the intended one, or you can head straight over to Lost Woods, or you can head straight to Thieves Town. You can even head to Misery Mire. You may be saying, wait, hold on, don't you need a hookshot to access Misery Mire? You do not. You can access Misery Mire by using Pegasus Boots, which is awesome. It's an awesome way to be able to sneak past it. If you go to Misery Mire, you'll have the Cane of Samaria from your second dungeon, meaning that block puzzles are a thing of the past to you, including this main one here. So you could do, there's a lot of different orders you could do the dungeons in. So if you're replaying Link to the Past on a vanilla ROM, or I guess, you know, on your Super Nintendo for that matter, I shouldn't assume you're playing it digitally, then you can just, yeah, you could just mix it up by going through the dungeons in a different order than normal. If you played it as long as I have, you do that every time now. I haven't done the correct order for Link to the Past dungeons in a long time. What do we go back in here for? Oh, what's this? We're gonna get to see a fun little trick. I haven't seen this one before. Are we gonna try to? What are we gonna do?
Hold, yeah, sword buffer to the left. Hold down right.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Well executed.
Great job.
I'm not a glitch player for Link to the Past. I'll do a few minor glitches for Super Metroid, like Mach Ball, because Mach Ball is that's outright required for Super Metroid as far as I'm concerned. I mean, sure, you can go fight Spore Spawn, but if you're trying to beat the game quickly, you got to know how to Mach Ball. That's important. So I learned that one, and it's simple enough to where it's fun too. Like Mach Ball's fun to pull off. I'm not big into other glitches though. I don't really like do out of bounds. I definitely don't do out of bounds, and I don't do like manipulation where you're kind of forcing yourself through things or using screen wrap to hit doors from the other side. And I'm not saying anything against the people that do those things. All right, so we don't have hammer, so that sucks. I'm not saying anything
You're
against people that do.
Humlos.
What's that?
Why do you hate casual play?
Because it sucks. No, for me, I'm much more of a casual speedrunner. I don't pull off a lot of crazy glitches a lot of the time, and it can be fun too, and I think it's fantastic to watch. But it's just not my preferred method of personal play.
Oh. All right, real talk. I heard you talking a bit about different places to play A Link to the Past, or other retro games for that matter. What is your preferred way of playing retro games?
So my absolute preferred way would be the Nintendo Switch if it had more games on it for the retro games. The Switch Online apps are great. They're real quick. What's up, Hungry Bread? This is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past randomized, being played by our friend TheMissingLink. He's in the middle of a race, and so it is A Link to the Past, but with a lot of things mixed up, so that we never know what each treasure chest will hold. But yeah, the Switch is definitely where I prefer to play it because I like the controller layout on it. I know a lot of people have a problem with the D-pad on the Switch, the Joy-Con D-pad. I actually don't overall. I'm perfectly fine with it, and in some cases I prefer it to the Pro Controller. But I also do have a 8BitDo Super Nintendo style controller with the analog sticks that I use as well for playing Super Nintendo games. Which it's a fantastic controller. I highly recommend picking it up. So I definitely prefer to play it there, mostly for the portability aspect. I like being able to play my games portably. It runs them really well, and that's great. Other than that, I do like the SNES Classic a lot, especially for the hackability. I'm not about to promote illegal activities over here. So if you all own your games and are backing up your own ROMs, which I know all of you are doing, I certainly did. Then I like playing on that. It's a little bit tough to get it set up at first.
Yeah.
But once
Hey,
you
how was backing up your physical copy of Little Samson?
Oh yeah, it was very expensive. It took a long time, finding the game, just paying the $3,000 to buy it, and. But once you figure out how to get games onto the SNES Classic, especially if you're dual booting it, I have mine dual booted between NES Classic and SNES Classic. It's absolutely one of the easiest ways to just turn on a game and start playing. It's really nice. I love playing it on them that way, and it feels more natural because you're playing on a very Super Nintendo-like controller. And you can even load randomizers like this onto it as well to play. It's a little bit clunky because every time you load up a new randomizer, you'd have to load it on there. So maybe not to be the best way to do randomizers, but I have done it. Hey, there's Hammer. Excellent. So I think that's the last item he needs. Nope, he still needs Ice Rod. Doesn't have that yet, so that'll be the last item we need before we can officially get all the crystals and go. Oh no, he doesn't need Ice Rod because he doesn't. Turtle Rock's not a crystal.
A piece of heart there.
So yeah, that means once we get all the crystals, we'll be in go mode. So that's good. Hungry Bread says, I never played Link to the Past, but I played Link Between Worlds. Then you'll be very familiar with the map because it's basically the exact same map.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. He did the ice block puzzle even though he has Canis Maria, but he also kind of cheesed it a little bit, so that's nice. What were you saying, Ombre?
No, I was saying if you liked
Actually, I might.
A Link Between Worlds, I mean, you'll like Link to the Past too. Obviously, for me at least, I felt in general that A Link to the Past, it aged fairly well, but perhaps not as well as you would have liked. I mean, it's aged a lot better than the original Legend of Zelda for sure.
Oh yeah.
So if you're fine with playing the original NES Legend of Zelda, you'll be absolutely fine with Link to the Past. If you're picky about smooth gameplay, which I am, you'll find some elements that are like, yeah, I mean, could have been better, but
I mean, a lot of it's overall the standard, like, this is just how things were on the Super Nintendo kind of thing. It's
exactly.
which is to be expected. So yeah, that's absolutely the case. If you have a harder time with retro games overall, then yeah.
That's all we have left, actually.
Yeah, but overall, even so, I mean, A Link to the Past is just still today a solid title. So
Absolutely, and it's kind of like the game that really started steering us towards what Zeldas would become, because the original Zelda, it was very much its own thing. It was like completely open. It was the items and everything in it were just kind of like, oh, here's these random items we could do. Link to the Past introduced things like the Master Sword, introduced the current concept of the Triforce. Before, the Triforce was always seen as 3 pieces, and that if you get them all, you could do stuff. But here, it was really seen as like, oh, it's one thing. And
yeah, you said before that Ocarina of Time expanded a lot of concept in Zelda thematically and lore-wise. Whereas I would say that a lot of the kind of gameplay foundations were set in A Link to the Past, especially when it comes to the items. I was surprised about how many items from the 3D games were in A Link to the Past. I played Link to the Past in like 2008 the first time.
Well, let's do.
So after
that is insane to me. That was your first time.
Yeah, after Ocarina of Time, after Wind Waker, after Twilight Princess, and I was surprised, like, oh, this game has the hook shot. Would not have expected that at all.
Yeah, and it's funny too because you would think that like, oh, okay, well maybe it'll have mostly the same items as other games then if it has a few of the same, but no, Link to the Past also just has a bunch of random items that never appear again. It's like the magic cape. Hungry Bread says, do we have the Master Sword yet? Well, we have got above that. Master Sword is the second sword in this game. We currently have the level 4 sword, which is the golden sword. Still technically the Master Sword, just powered up by a big old fat fairy. Like and sub, thank you very much. I like retro games, grew up playing Zelda. Same here. I started in Zelda when I was 9 years old. That's when I first got Link to the Past, which... Oh, nice. Look at that. Hammer Dash. Love it. Love it. I played every Zelda game since then. Love most of them, and still play them regularly to this day. Umbre, you got into Zelda with Ocarina of Time. When was Ocarina of Time for you? When did you first play it?
So I played it shortly after release, so I would have been around 10.
Okay, awesome. That was I know that was that. So Ocarina of Time was out like right after I played Link to the Past. So, but I didn't have a Nintendo 64 yet. So it took me a few years to finally get to that one. And in the meantime, I had bought like every other game that was every other Zelda game that was made before that point. I went out and bought them from used game stores and started playing them too.
Yeah. My console experience was probably a bit different. I was a Sega kid.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were.
We had a Mega Drive.
Right.
Which you call Genesis. In the
yeah,
US,
the correct name.
Which I guess it's a cooler name than Mega Drive, but
I honestly don't care. If this was like 10 years ago when I first learned that, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. But at this point, it's like they both sound completely normal to me.
I mean, yeah. It's very 90s.
Screw you, map.
It's to call something a Mega Drive, I think.
It absolutely is, and using terms like blast processing.
Yeah, it's like just like super and mega, just just power level words, you know.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so
Yeah, if you got it,
I mainly got into Nintendo because my cousins had a Super Nintendo. I played Mario on that
it's not,
when I was
finicky.
younger.
It's not that hard.
And then what made me get a Nintendo was actually Mario Kart. Mario Kart 64. We play that a lot at my cousin's place, and I want to get Mario Kart 64.
I think that happened for a lot of people too.
Mario Karts, and I didn't really know the difference between a Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 at that point. So I was like, hey, there on the Nintendo there is a Mario Kart, and so me and my brother convinced my dad to buy a Super Nintendo and Super Mario Kart, and we thought it was Mario Kart 64.
That's awesome.
But that was fine because we only got a few games for it. But that's when I played, Rocky and Pocky, which is still one of my favorite games of all time.
Left side.
I have that on my
One of the
SNES
best
Classic
games for
just
that
because of
console.
you.
Left side.
Yeah, it's excellent
now,
game.
I'm
I play Yoshi's Island, also obviously excellent game.
What Triple Rock Century was.
Some of the classics on the Super Nintendo. And then I moved on to 64 from there and played Ocarina of Time as my first Zelda game.
One more thing on freaking
That's so cool.
Argus here.
Hunger Bread says it's their birthday in a few days and they're getting Breath of the Wild and Switch. That's awesome. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. I'm sure. I don't know if you've seen my Breath of the Wild videos, but I got a bunch of them and I love that game
because they're good.
Yeah, enjoy killing Lionels. That's my jam. I love killing Lionels. They have a 64 and a Wii, and they're getting the Switch, and they have PS4. All good stuff. Yeah, I've got. So yeah, you say you were a Sega kid growing up. Ray, I was absolutely a Nintendo kid growing up. It wasn't really my choice either. It's one of those things where I have two older sisters, right? And then my parents weren't gamers. My dad kind of liked video games a little bit back then. Not anymore. These days, he's like doesn't care in the slightest. But he absolutely wasn't what I would call a gamer. He just thought they were cool, basically. So they bought the original Nintendo. So I came out the womb with one of those, and was playing Super Mario Brothers 3 like constantly when I was 3 and 4. I loved that game so much, and so we got the Super Nintendo obviously because we were all Mario kids. I was Mario everything. I watched the show all the time. I went down to the supermarket and bought Mario branded soda, which yes, that did exist back then. I don't know if it was any good, but I loved it. The ice cream truck would come by and I'd buy this Mario ice cream bar. It looks a lot like the Sonic bar, with the gumball eyes and all that. And so I was absolutely a Mario kid. And so like I'd buy everything Mario. Like there was never a question in my mind like, oh, I should think about getting a Sega or a PlayStation. It's like, oh, those don't have Mario on them. I guess I don't want that. Although I will say, at one of the supermarkets near where I lived, they had a Genesis on display with one of I think it was Sonic 1. At one point it was Sonic 1, and another point it was Sonic Spinball. And I remember playing those every time I went to the supermarket and just loving it. And I'm like, these are really great. I wish I could play them at home. I don't think the thought ever occurred to me that like that was a possibility. Like, that if that possibly I could get a Sega. Now I don't think I would have anyway. My parents would have been like, no, you have a Super Nintendo, we're not getting you another game console. Like, but I didn't even ever think to ask. Like, I never thought about like, oh, I could buy a Sega.
You
like,
can have both.
Yeah, like I didn't never even crossed my mind. So it's definitely I didn't not like Sega. I just didn't play Sega. Like However, when PlayStation came around, I got into this phase where I became a Nintendo fanboy, and I was like, it's one of those things where it's just this stupid carnal instinct of humans, to where we have a thing, and we see someone doing a different thing, and we're like, that's different. How dare you?
Your thing sucks.
Exactly. It's like, why was I like that? And I was a Nintendo fanboy for the longest time, where I'd see a multi-platform game coming to like Xbox and PS2 and not GameCube, and I'd be like, why not? Why doesn't GameCube get it? What's wrong with everyone? And then
I mean, that's a fair complaint, though.
it is from the perspective of, man, it's a bummer that I'm going to be missing out on that because I don't have those other consoles. But that's not always why I would complain. Like, I complain about games I didn't want.
Oh, okay.
We're coming to GameCube.
That's different.
Yeah, but that, I was a stupid kid, so whatever. Like, I was stupid when I was a kid.
Like, here's the thing: it's not actually as unreasonable as you think, because
You'll remember. You will
You're gonna wait.
even if it's a game that you're not into, what it means in the long term is that if a game goes onto a console and people buy it, that means, hey, a game does well on a specific console, which means other developers might make games for it, and those games you might be interested in. So I mean, it's a,
That's
it's not just about game A or game B.
Right.
It's about the whole
The environment of that
development
console.
of
Yeah.
developers.
No, that makes total sense. Now,
But you didn't think that way, obviously.
no, I did. I wasn't thinking that hard about it. I was just thinking, this is my thing, and people aren't liking my thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you know what broke me out of being a Nintendo fanboy?
I am here.
Uh-huh.
Soul Calibur 2.
Michael.
Oh, really?
Really, because Soul Calibur 2 had Link on it on the GameCube, right?
Yeah.
So obviously I bought it.
I mean, obviously that was the best version.
Exactly. So I'm like, I need to have Soul Calibur 2. And so I bought Soul Calibur 2, and I'm like, I love this game. I had so much fun with Soul Calibur 2. And so Soul Calibur 3 gets announced.
Sorry.
And I'm like, yeah, Soul Calibur 3. And it was a PS2 exclusive. And I'm like, but I don't have a PlayStation 2. And Soul Calibur 3 is on PlayStation 2, and I really want to play PlayStation 2.
You might get
And so
satisfied after a
that's what did it. By that point, I think I was in high school at that point, so I had a job, so I was able to actually go out and buy it. And so I went out, and it was a few years after the PS2's release, so the PS2 Slim was out, which was much cheaper than the original PS2. So I was able to actually do it. I was able to actually just go out and buy a console. So I bought a PS2, I bought Soul Calibur 3, and had a great time. Loved it. I also got a demo disc with it that had We Love Katamari, a demo for that on it. And that became one of my top 10 games of all time, like immediately, just from the demo disc. And yeah, that's what did it. I broke out of my fanboyism because Nintendo had a deal to have Link on Soul Calibur 2. I'm glad I did. Fanboyism is it holds it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been much of a console gamer other than Nintendo. Like, I don't have any Sony consoles, don't have any Xbox consoles. I think mainly just because a lot of the games that are, a lot of games that people buy those platforms for, I'm either not interested or I'll get them on PC instead. So, for instance, I'm not much of an RPG person. So, if I was, I would definitely be playing PlayStation. A lot of things like adventure games, Resident Evil. I mean, sure, at the time, they might have been, better on console, but yeah, Resident Evil 2, I played it on the remake on PC the first time. Solid.
Yep.
It just PC is just my preferred platform in general, and I get Nintendo for mainly the Nintendo games.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would most of the time I definitely prefer to play on PC for most of my games. It's only for the ones that I can't that I don't. Oh, real quick, Hungry Bread asks, what's your favorite thing about Breath of the Wild? We'll get to that question in just a second. I want to go in this conversation, then me and Aubrey will both talk about that. Yeah, so I definitely, like I said, I definitely do PC for the most part. And I was never planning on continuing buying consoles after the PS3, other than Nintendo consoles again, because obviously Nintendo exclusives and all that. Because I got my PS3 for I don't remember what I bought it specifically for, but I did buy it. And I was expecting to have a whole bunch of games on it that I would love, and it had some games I enjoyed. But the thing I noticed about my PlayStation 3 is that most of the games I really enjoyed were ports of other games, and I'm like, well, this wasn't much fun at all. Like, I don't really care. Like, I can't think of a single PS3 exclusive that I really care about that isn't a port. And because of that, I'm like, I don't think I need consoles anymore. And then E3 comes along of, I think, 2015, 2016. They reveal Horizon Zero Dawn for PS4, and I'm like instantly hooked on it. And I'm like, okay, I need to buy a PS4 now. And I have to say, despite the fact that I really didn't enjoy any major games on the PS3, I am fully happy I got the PS4, because that has had 3 of my favorite games of this generation. In fact, the only game I think, apart from those, there's 2 other major games from this generation that I was really into, and that was Shadow of Mordor and its sequel, and then Breath of the Wild. Apart from that, like, my favorite games have been God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Horizon Zero Dawn, all of which I just immensely love. So, I don't know, I like, knowing the type of gamer you are, I feel like you would have a good time on the PS4 or the PS5.
I think so too. Well, at least with those, you mentioned those 3 games, and those are the 3 games, and like those are pretty much the only games that I feel like I feel like, yeah, I would definitely get a PS4 for those games. My friend has a PS4 and he has Spider-Man, and I play that a bit, just a bit, but so far I've had a good time with it. So I might just borrow his consoles and get the games for it. But yeah, no, overall, I definitely agree with you that the PS4 is a solid console with titles that appeal to a broad user base.
Especially, like, and here's the funny thing too, is that back in the early part of the 2010s, we had a lot of talk about how single player games were dying. And about how, like, they were
I never bought into it.
Right, and no actual gamer ever did. Like, no, did I just say actual gamer? Okay, no reasonable person ever did. Say actual gamer.
No fake gamers, get out of here.
Yeah, that's right. Get out of here, fake gamers. No reasonable person ever thought that was the case. And what I like about Sony's thing, and like their whole generation for the PS4, is that they really proved that wrong. Like,
yeah,
and they because that's what Sony really focused on. All of Sony's major titles were big, long, single player, narrative driven experiences. Because I may not like Uncharted and Last of Us personally, that's not my personal type of game, but they were still like big games that were really loved, like that sold really, really well. And that's just what they were all about. That's what Sony's really good at, is doing big single player experiences. And that's all. Like, even next month, freaking Ghost of Tsushima comes out. I am looking way forward to that, because that looks in the same vein, big single player adventure game that I'm gonna love, and that's the kind of game I'm really into. And that's really what they cater towards, is that type of gamer. And that's the thing I like about Nintendo too, is a lot of their big games also cater towards that as well. I'd say not as much of a focus as Sony does these days, but you know, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Metroid Prime 4, whenever that comes out, those are all big single player experiences that really eat up a good amount of time. I've spent 315 hours in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and also, like I said, wow.
Also, shout out to Lionel's, real quick. Okay, continue.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, wildly popular. All right, so we got some events going on here.
We do.
Are we going up to the Ganon?
Yes. So I didn't mention it, but we are in Go mode. It says glitch Go mode, so I guess we're gonna. I don't know what glitch we gotta exploit to do this, but we have all the crystals, so we're good there.
Real quick, the other player finished around 10 minutes ago. Oh.
Okay, so TML didn't quite finish it. It didn't win the race. That's okay. Well, this is his first time doing something like this, so
yeah, we're here to comment the run, talk about stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
And have fun.
So. That's right. What were we saying? We were talking about Nintendo. So Nintendo's got they got Breath of the Wild, they got Mario Odyssey. They also do a lot of smaller games too. They're also good with RPGs, which aren't my jam, but people really like Xenoblade. They really like Fire Emblem. Those games do really well. So they've got Nintendo's a very good all-around system, I would say. Like, if you like if you like basically any type of genre of game, Nintendo's, except for shooters, because as much as Splatoon is a good game, I don't think it appeals to the I don't think it appeals to the same type of people that like Call of Duty appeals to. But it's still good.
I don't know. I mean, because I don't play Call of Duty, but I like Battlefield. I play Rainbow Six Siege. I'm not a huge fan of Counter-Strike these days, but back in the day, I played a decent amount of Counter-Strike.
Which is true.
It has shooter appeal in general, but I mean, if you're more so into the kind of realistic shooters with more focus on ammo and different grenades and gunplay and these sort of things, it's definitely different and may not appeal to you as much. But Splatoon is an excellent shooter, which is even in general.
Definitely. Oh yeah, it's definitely an excellent game, and that's the interesting thing about them is they just are good at producing a good variety of games that are all.
However,
generally speaking, if it's a genre you like, you will like that game. Like if you like action adventure games, you will like Breath of the Wild. If you like big RPGs, you'll like Xenoblade Chronicles. So they got a little something for everybody.
When it comes to shooters, though, I mean, if you play shooters on a console, it's got to be something different, like Splatoon or whatever. Like, if you play Call of Duty on a console, then you're not a real gamer, as Humulus would put it.
Shut up. Oh, man. Okay, so going back to Hungry Bread here. So they got like 5 minutes in Breath of the Wild. That's awesome. You like Marvel Spider-Man. Awesome. So what is our favorite things about Breath of the Wild? Ombre, go ahead. What do you like most about Breath of the Wild?
So, honestly, I guess the gameplay, and more specifically, the exploration part of the gameplay. I really love the sense that you just kind of get dropped off. You have the plateau that you need to kind of complete to get the hang of things before they let you into the wild world. But once you're off the plateau, it's very much of, hey, we're gonna kind of hint you to go to Kakariko Village, which is over there, but there's nothing stopping you from just going anywhere. And my favorite part of it is just that you're kind of starting to go, hey, I'm gonna go this direction because there's something over here. And then 1 hour later, you find yourself like on the other side of the map where you intended to go in the first place, because you just went from thing to thing to thing, and you were exploring things, you were fighting cool enemies, and you were discovering things. I remember the first time when, and we streamed this actually, you were streaming Breath of the Wild, and I was playing it as well, and we were kind of talking, and I was like, holy shit, what is that? And then I was just looking at it, and I was like, oh my god, is that a freaking Lionel? Just the first time I saw Lionel, I was terrified. Also, and that's something that speaks to the strength of the game, is because enemies are, unlike a lot of recent Zelda games, enemies are actually really dangerous and will kill you a lot of times, which adds a lot of things, because then you're just not exploring, oh, this is easy, I'm just gonna go here, kill everything there. It's like, no, you're gonna go places, you're gonna explore things, you're gonna find things that are way out of your league, and you're gonna run for your life. And you're like, I was not prepared for this. Like, I climb up the mountain, found the dragon, and I was like, I'm scared, I'm gonna leave.
Oh yeah, like, you don't see anything like that coming. That's honestly, everything you're saying is exactly like what I love about it too. Like my favorite things about it, because there's a lot that it does right. There really is. But the biggest thing for me is that, and the reason that I play for as many hours as I do, is because it's just fun to be able to discover things. And not a lot of games do that. Most open world games that you find, it can be fun in certain circumstances, but a lot of times it's going to be following a waypoint, going to a specific point on the map, doing that sort of thing, and it doesn't have to be every time, but that's what a lot of them boil down to. I'd say the majority of open world games involve going to points on maps, and that's not what you do in Breath of the Wild. There is the option to go to points on maps, but you're going to be going to that point on the map, and just like you said, you're going to get distracted. You're going to see something in the world and say, I want to see what that thing in the world is. And you're going to go to it. And in fact, even with the map, so the map isn't filled with icons. The map is filled with a, how do we say? A topographical, no, is it topographical? What's the other type of map? I don't know. It's a map that shows you what the environment looks like.
Yeah.
And
it's not a topographical.
Right. It's the opposite of topographical, which I don't remember the name of. So it shows you what the environment's like. So you may be looking at the map and you may see there, hey, this lake kind of looks like a heart on this map. Oh, I should go check that out. You're not checking it out because you have a marker telling you should go to this place. You're checking it out because it looked interesting. And that's really the greatest strength of Breath of the Wild, is that the world just is interesting, and there's so many things that could just happen. You never know what's going to happen. When I first encountered Nadra, like you said, no idea that was going to happen. I'm climbing this mountain, and I'm like, let's just see what's up here. This looks like a fun mountain to climb. You get to the top, and you're like, this is in this game? What is this thing?
Yeah, I was also entirely surprised. Like this. It's just something that I would never expect.
Exactly. They were so good at that. They were so good at just throwing things at you that were just unexpected. And it's, I don't know. It's just a type of game where you can just spend hours and hours in it just doing your own thing and still having fun. And it's not like you don't have to, like, in certain types, like if I say Minecraft, for example. Okay, I know a lot of people like Minecraft. I'm not super into Minecraft personally, because you really do have to create what you want to do. Like, you don't go into Minecraft and have a set goal. You go into Minecraft and say, okay, so now I'm going to decide, all right, what do I want to do? Well, let's build a house. I'll build a house. Now what do I want to do? Maybe I can go exploring. And the things that you do aren't really set before you. And that's not a bad thing. But in Breath of the Wild, you also do whatever you want to do, but the game kind of prods you to be like, maybe you want to check out that rock. Or maybe there's these enemies over here. Maybe they got some cool stuff. It's like the things you want to do because you see cool things, and it's just constantly interesting you.
All right, so I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
What is the worst thing about Breath of the Wild? And in regards to the best thing and the worst thing, if you just take those two aspects, what are your thoughts about the sequel?
Alright, so I know what a lot of people would say for worst thing, and I'm not going to say that, because I actually had no problem with the thing that everybody hates. And so we're going to ignore the weapon breaking thing for me for right now, because I'm fine with the weapon breaking system. I think it works well with the way the game is laid out. So for me, picking the worst things are, honestly, the worst things that I can think of are, again, like we were talking earlier, with like those minor annoyances I have with Link's Awakening, just random minor little things. Aren't things that aren't true major problems, but things that would just be better. And that's going to be, for me, the clothing system. Mainly how you change your armor in Breath of the Wild. Because you have the quick select for weapons, you have the quick select for shields, bows and all that. It's incredibly convenient to be able to just hold the button, choose a new weapon, done. You're done with it. But there's nothing like that for armor. So if I'm wearing my climbing gear, because I'm doing a lot of climbing, and I'm like, oh, there's some enemies up ahead, I better put on my barbarian armor so I have more power. It's annoying. It honestly is annoying, because I now, not only am I changing just a piece of armor, I'm changing 3 pieces of armor to be now what I want it to be. And so what I'd like to see for that to be changed in the new game is I'd love to be able to have loadouts for armor sets that I could just switch between. Because think about it, we have a couple buttons that aren't used as well as they could be. Like when you change your magnesis, or what, the runes, when you change your runes, that's currently mapped to up, I think it is, on the D-pad.
Yes,
and it doesn't need to be. Like, if you were to just hold down that button instead of just pressing it, because no rune requires you to hold down the rune button. So if you were to just hold the rune button instead of just pressing it, you could swap runes that way. And leave up that other button to do clothing layouts, or clothing loadouts, which would be far more useful for me. Because that's what I spend a lot of time doing, is menuing to put on different armor pieces, and it's not fun. It's not fun to switch around armor. So I'd like to see that. I don't think they will change that in the next one. But to answer the other part of your question about the best part, about what I think about that for the sequel, I am a bit worried about Breath of the Wild 2, because one of the biggest complaints people had was dungeons and the lack thereof. And this is going to sound very surprising, and it's going to sound weird the way that I say it, but dungeons are one of my least favorite parts of a Zelda game. And I don't mean that I don't like dungeons, but when I am in a dungeon, my general feeling is, all right, when do I get to get out of this dungeon and back into the world? And it varies from game to game. Like some games that are more dungeon focused, it's like, okay, this is fine. Like Skyward Sword,
Yeah.
I'd say is more dungeon focused. And so when I'm in Skyward Sword's dungeons, I don't really have an urgency to get back to the world because the world's not as interesting as the dungeons in Skyward Sword.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I felt that too in some games where it's like you're halfway through dungeons, like okay, I just want to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it varies from game to game, and I think a lack of dungeons that wasn't a problem for me. It was more the theme of the dungeon, that they were all the same.
Yeah, you wanted to see the
And the
shrines
most
have
exciting thing
individual
about-
themes rather than just all be
Yeah,
the
and
Sheikah
the most
technology.
exciting thing about dungeons is that, hey, you go in Ocarina of Time, for instance, hey, now I'm in the forest dungeon. This is a environment with enemies and mechanics that I haven't seen before. It really, changes the game up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really the case with Breath of the Wild. All right, real quick, let's just get back to the Ganon fight here. It's
Yeah, we're fighting
gonna be
Ganon, by
end
the
of
way.
game here soon.
So,
So we're gonna hit
Hungry Red real quick. Yes, use motion controls in Breath of the Wild. They're great. So we're fighting Ganon. This is the last boss in the game. Ombre, tell us about this.
yeah, Ganon can turn into a bat in this game.
It's ready.
Why?
Ken.
I don't know.
We've never seen that
He's
again,
not
have we?
Dracula. No.
Oh my gosh, I think it may have popped
Ganon
up in Link
doesn't really
Between
turn-
Worlds,
he just,
but
Yeah, he doesn't turn into other... I mean, he turns into a Ganon Beasts when he's Ganondorf, but... Yeah.
he's never just been a big old bat that slams through a pyramid.
Ah, Ganon's tower.
Or anything that flies.
Wait, does he
or
not have
anything
silver
either.
arrows?
Oh god, did you run right by him?
Can you still win?
Okay, got the torch glitch.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so I guess you can. I guess it's not like Link, or I was like Zelda 1 where they're required to beat him. Maybe you can just still do it with Golden Sword. That's interesting. Okay, we'll see how that goes. He's got this. Fun fact, Ganon was the very first thing I ever fought in a Zelda game. And
Really?
yes, this exact Ganon, because I got Link to the Past from a friend who gave me 4 random games and was like, here you go, you can have these. So I turned on this
Oh, nice.
one. He's beaten the game, so the game starts on the pyramid, and I just walk into a hole, and then bam, there's Ganon. And I'm like, what's going on?
Did you win?
I
you
did
beat
not win. I absolutely did not win. And I was like, this is dumb, and I put it down. And then I went to play Congo's Caper, was another game we played, which is part of the Joe and Max series, I believe. So I played that a bunch because I got to understand it, because I didn't have save files. I don't think I realized that necessarily that that wasn't how the game started.
Wow.
And I didn't realize I should start a new file. I think I didn't quite get that yet. So
Yeah. I have another fun thing kind of like that.
Mm.
I borrowed a game from my cousins for the N64 called Lilac Wars.
yeah. Oh,
Also
how
known
about
as
that?
Star
Yeah.
Fox 64 in the US.
Yes.
And we played that game a lot, and it was super fun. And we got into all the different kind of options and changing the language and just having fun with all the things.
Oh no, he fell.
Yeah, that was
That's so sad.
clock's ticking.
Yep, it sure is.
Anyway,
continue.
so when you fall,
Area on the
does
outside, try area.
does the boss reset?
Yep,
Or...
entirely reset.
There's if you bonk the
Oh,
tree,
okay.
All damage
so
is
might,
negated.
Might want to stack up on hearts then.
Yeah, there's a fairy right here. He'll be able to get at least.
All right, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Just bonk the
Yeah.
tree.
So anyway,
Oh, there you go. There's your fairy.
for those who don't know, I'm Swedish. When I was a kid and played Light Wars, my English wasn't the best. Like, yeah, I could understand what was going on, but so anyway, I was playing around with the options. That was one of the things that made options kind of fun, because we didn't always understood what we turned on or off because we didn't know the words. And then I found this one option called Erase Game, and I was like, "Huh, that sounds exciting." And I decided to do the thing. And then, we erased the game, and we were like, wait, what happened?
Oh my gosh.
And then I had to kind of call my cousin, whose game we borrowed from. I was like, we pressed this button called erase game, and now everything's gone, and all your records are gone.
Oh my gosh.
All your high scores are gone. He wasn't super upset about it. He was like, okay, fuck's sake.
That's happened to everyone before. Everyone with a younger sibling or younger cousin or whatever has absolutely had a time where their sibling erase their entire save file. It happened to me with Pokemon Blue. Because that game doesn't have multiple save files, so I'll just start a new game. Oh, better save it. Gone. All my Pokemon gone. Oh man, that's the worst. So, all right, so we'll see how it does on Ganon this time. Hopefully, it does better.
What was that text box flashing by? Did you something the tower?
Did you find the silver arrows in my tower? So that's the hint telling you where the silver arrows can be found, which definitely, again, I guess you don't need them for this, but it definitely would make it easier to use silver arrows on Ganon for sure. Yeah, the hard part here is hitting him before he teleports.
PC dialogues that they don't really have anymore in games, where it's like, did you find my secret arrows? Or, haha, I am your adversary this time.
Well, so that's the fun thing about this game, right? Is A Link to the Past generally does have serious moments. So if this was the vanilla game, Ganon would have said there, "Oh, you've met, young hero, but you'll never get past my secret power of darkness," which is turning off a light switch. And yeah, so the randomizer, they went through and changed almost all the dialogue. Again, this is a Japanese version, so that would have been in Japanese anyway. So they instead changed the dialogue to where it's just mostly like, it's either hints or just nonsense, or like in references to the speedrunning community. So it's it's a lot of fun that they do that. That in a second. Hungerbread says I deleted my sister's yokai save file. Yep, there you go. It's happened to everybody. Oh man. So he's doing pretty good. He's doing a good lamp management here, where he doesn't have to light both lamps again, so that's nice. That way he doesn't save some time. Oh yeah, 2 hours 15. So he should be done here in just a minute, as long as he doesn't fall off the edge.
Yeah. So under 220 probably.
Yeah, which is honestly really good. Like, Link to the Past, even vanilla, it's not an easy game to get a time this low on. Like, it takes me a good amount of I think if I'm playing the game, normally speaking, I usually do it in around 4 hours. It's not a game I've attempted to speedrun before, because I don't know, it just doesn't, unlike Super Metroid, which I love speedrunning, for Zelda, it's just never really crossed my mind. It's like, oh, I could speedrun this. Like, I just don't think about it. So that's why I'm usually in like the very high range. I'm definitely not winning any awards there. I'll beat it faster if I'm doing the randomizer for Super Metroid in this, just because you find a lot of items in Super Metroid which I can speedrun, and so I'll get them faster sooner.
Right.
I got no idea how many hits he needs left on this.
15.
Yeah, this is definitely a much longer fight without silver arrows. Bummer, they were in the tower, so he could have went and got them, but it would have also...
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I think it would have saved time. I think it would have saved time to get them. Oh, does he? He doesn't have anything in a bottle, does he? He's got to be real careful. Oh boy. Get it in time. Yep, there you go. There you go.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, that's it. Left. Okay. Great. Wow. Came right down to it. Holy crap. That's good. That is good. All right. So, yeah, time is on going through the door, I believe. So I don't know if
it's done.
Let's see, and time at 2 hours and 18 minutes. Look at that. Or is it when the Triforce comes in? I don't know.
Yeah, the timer is still going. I assume they'll stop it.
Maybe
he has to click OK or something.
Well, yes, that's the thing. If someone has to hit a button, if they're using Time Splitter, which it looks like they are, then it's a space bar. Will they hit it on that? Okay, no one's watching the timer. So 2:18. We'll say it's 2:18. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good time. This again is the Missing Link's like one of the first times doing this. So he's not a professional by any means, but he had a good mentor. Thank you, Days Cloud, for that. There's King Harkinian right there, all ready to go to Gamelon to help do Gauntlet.
Yeah,
Finally.
You'll take the Triforce of
you
Power
go
to
do your
protect
thing,
him.
eh?
Alright.
Oh, I guess I'm supposed to come too.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
I want
stuff.
to see if we get it.
Saddlebags Homecoming.
All right, bud.
Alright, see you there.
And we'll, I don't know if he's gonna cut off the stream or not, but we'll get some stats if they don't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at the other stream, and they have an end screen for the other person with a stopped timer.
Okay, gotcha.
But actually, okay.
I
Yeah,
like this
so
interface.
they have a total time which is different. Like they have an in-game total time which is
Yes.
different from their manual timer.
Yes, yeah, in-game time will always be a little bit shorter than the out-of-game time, just because of the way that transitions and stuff are handled, and when things are what's counted for time, basically. So most, I'd say most speedruns use real time for determining their length. Some games, however, will use in-game time, just depending on what the timer is and whether like there's some like nonsense that slows things down. A big debate about that is Sonic the Hedgehog, for example. Oh, what's up, Red Arts? Yeah, you're a bit late. It's okay. We're just watching the credits now. Like Sonic the Hedgehog has a big problem with real-time versus in-game time, because if you beat the game as fast, or if you beat a level as fast as you can in Sonic, then you have to wait for the score counter to count down.
Oh, the score counter, yeah.
Because the score counter is going to give you bonuses for the amount of time that you have left over, and which takes up a good significant amount of time. When you beat a level in 20 seconds, then you have to wait for the remaining 9 minutes and 40 seconds to be counted. So there's debates about that, about whether real time should be used, since it adds extra real time by waiting, or if in-game time should be used, since it would count just the levels themselves and not the score tally. So
That's a lot of locations.
There's some other games like that too, where it varies. A lot of times when you're starting out, you'll want to use the in-game time because that's nicer to you. Like Super Metroid, for example, it's honestly almost like a 20 to 30 minute difference between in-game time and real time, just because of all the time you spend indoors, like, and in the subscreen.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I guess, but I mean, like the doors. I mean, it's part of the gameplay. You can't just. I mean, what do you time and cut that out? Like it just feels like. I mean, it's dead time, but it's still in the game. It's still part of the playing experience.
Yeah. Now, I will say the because of the way that people have optimized Super Metroid, like those two times are very much closer together than ever. Like people will beat Super Metroid in, what is it, 32, 33 minutes, something like that is the record right now. So that door transition time like basically doesn't even matter anymore. But just for most consistency, I guess I like going real time, which is fine. So my Super Metroid record is for 100%. I only do 100% because it's the one I enjoy the most. But my Super Metroid record for 100% is just about 2 hours, which would be about an hour and 30 minutes in-game time. So I'm happy with. I think I've done good with that. That's also without me doing a bunch of the better glitches. There's a lot of really good glitches that I really should just take the time to learn, but like I said before, I just don't like playing with glitches as much. I do mock ball because it doesn't even feel like a glitch. Learning how to short spark would be good. Is being able to do the shine sparking just off of a shorter area is incredibly helpful, but I haven't learned that yet. Maybe one of these days. So yeah, there's the guys. There's Takashi, Tezuka, Kensuke, Tanabe, names who's still here today. All getting started around this. Tezuka especially, he was a great director for the Zelda series. I liked what he did. He did this, and he did Link's Awakening. Good stuff all around. This is before Eiji Aonuma started getting involved.
Yep.
He was first involved with Ocarina of Time. What purpose did he serve in Ocarina of Time? What was his role there?
I think he worked on dungeons.
Okay, gotcha.
But I'm not entirely sure. I mean, this is a fun thing actually. I'm not sure if I told you this. When we interviewed Aonuma in 2012, I think,
and that was with Zelda Universe for those just tuning in.
Yeah. We interviewed Eiji Aonuma at Zelda Universe. I think in 2013. Yeah, it would have been. So let's give it a go, see what happens. You know, if it's there, that's going to be the thing that had just done some basic. We wrote up all the questions we wanted to ask him and everything.
So yeah, it was.
And we had written down that he started working with Ocarina of Time, because that was just kind of like we kind of knew that.
Right, not a question you needed to ask, basically.
Yeah, and but I think it was relevant to one of the questions that we were going to ask about when he kind of started out. But then we were talking to before the interview, we were talking to Chaka Conroy, and he said that Aonuma started on A Link to the Past. And we were like, really? He was like, yeah. And we were like, oh, okay, our mistake. And then so we came into the interview and said, hey, starting with A Link to the Past. And he was like, yeah, I wasn't involved with A Link to the Past. And we were like, oh. Now we look like idiots.
You were duped by a YouTuber? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't notice his name in the credits anywhere.
Open up chests along the way.
I wonder if he meant I wonder if Chuck Conroy meant the Game Boy Advance version, or if he was confused because he saw Aonuma's name in the Game Boy Advance version.
Yeah, might have been. But yeah, she's just fun little mistake. But yeah, and after that, okay, well now I know. Now I will never ever forget that Aonuma.
Absolutely.
To the past.
Oh my gosh.
Too late.
It's one of those facts that will stick to my head forever. That's pretty much entirely useless.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean overall.
Oh, look at that! Only gold sword for bosses. That's great.
I was talking to him when he was on his way over to Skull.
51 blocks. That's quite a few.
There's just like, so how are you feeling about a 7-heart?
Yeah, there you go. There's your lag time for freaking 11 minutes and 17 seconds of lag.
What's okay? Yeah, 2 minutes 15.
You got it done. So I mean,
yeah, this wasn't even that big of a. Well, that's. Oh, so they are counting the real time then, because we said 2:18. The timer.
Yeah, we said 2:18, but
interesting. I wonder how that's
they might have had menu time on that as well.
Oh yeah, you're probably
like
right.
3 minutes of menu time.
Yeah. That would count. That makes sense. They didn't include lag. They didn't include menu. So there you go. There's all the stuff. Look at that. There you go. Congratulations, TML. You did a great job.
It was something.
That's only better than I would have done on this. Good job to Days Cloud. There we go. Good job to Days Cloud for excellent commentary and on teaching TML how to do this. And good job to Ombre and me for doing the play-by-play commentary where we spent 20 minutes talking about Metroid Prime instead. Which I have.
I mean, hey,
no regrets.
It's been a 2.5 hour stream. It's difficult to talk about like a single game for 2 hours.
Oh yeah. No, I have no regrets about that whatsoever. So it was fun. But yeah,
hope you were moderately entertained, chat.
Yes, indeed. So I do Zelda streams every now and then. I also do Zelda videos, which you can see on my Zelda playlist within my channel. A few good things to check out there. So I don't do anything regular at the moment, so just keep an eye out. I'll do stuff when I do stuff, basically. I got stuff planned that will come out when it comes out, more or less. This is not my job, unfortunately. So keep an eye out for that. Ombre, you've got something cool that you've done.
Yeah, me and my wife are independent game developers. Go check out Mayhem Masters on Steam. It's a great game.
It is. We have a stream up that you can see of that we played that. It's a very nice game. For those of you that have ever seen or have been interested in Bomberman, it's kind of like that. And it's got a lot of really great stuff that keeps it apart from that. So definitely go check out Mayhem Masters. It's on Steam. It's a really great game, especially if you've got some people to play it with. Really fun time. So go check that out. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And the mentors, you can give them their Twitch